were, because you're originally from Ohio State, I'm a Northwestern girly myself, so I am just now getting to see these two teams for a bit. Do you have an inkling as to why we'd see the Haven pick specifically for this
Yeah,
first map?
yeah. I think a lot of the teams. I'm not super surprised by these picks, nor am I surprised by these bans. We can see them now on stream. We've got Haven, and then we've got Sunset, and we've got Ascent. Uh, I think why you would pick Haven with these teams in general is I've noticed a lot of the rise and fall of a lot of the teams in this series have been map control. Either other teams having like a fast flank, but a lot faster than the like, attacker side expects, and just kind of getting really pushed down by that when we pick more anti-traditional sentinels or when we're running these double controller comps. It's something that people really take advantage of, that you have that lack of super aggressive offense. And a map like Haven, like sending people to lurk up garage or sending people to push through B when you're trying to like fake a hit C and go A, just having that one person in the center of the map ends up like exposing a lot of vulnerabilities that we've seen historically, I would say, throughout the run of BEC so far. So I think that's probably why, is that they're trying to exploit kind of that play style that we've seen pretty consistently amongst these two teams, that hyper aggression or that double controller, both of those like kind of leaving pretty big holes open in a typical hit that we might be able to see them exploit on that map.
And it's very interesting to see how that sort of theory is going to continue into our other maps of Ascent and Sunset, but that's something that we might not have time for because we need to meet the two teams that are going to be playing tonight. Of course, we've got Michigan, we've got Chris, Nikolai, Ray Andante, Shadow Goober, and Spin taking on Indiana. We're rocking the lineup of Enjoy, Hit, Simbreezy, Opted, and Truff. Indiana, of course, going to have players that we're somewhat familiar with if you have been following the VEC since last year, given that they not only won the regular season, but had a very good showing at the LAN, placing second and barely falling to Purdue. But with Purdue having a little bit of an off season this year, Indiana has stepped right back up. They haven't quite replicated that same success that they found last year, but with a lot of the same players going into this year, I expect them to make some sort of waves going into playoffs.
Yeah, most definitely. I remember Simbreezy and Enjoy when they played Ohio State being massive fraggers, always a massive issue. Their shots were always way too clean. It always felt very overwhelming for the Buckeyes to try and overcome. So I'm excited to get to watch and cast as those two before I got to sit in my room here and just watch them play. And now I actually get to see it live and in action and cast it as it happens. And I'm really excited to kind of maybe get to see the thought processes that go behind those clean shots and those aggressive plays.
Yep. Speaking of going into the action, it looks like our game is about to get ready. We are going into agent selection now, and already we're seeing, I believe that's Michigan starting on the attack, locking in that classic comp. Especially, or I'm especially curious about how Indiana are going to approach this, but they do have the double duelist, which kind of interacts very interestingly with the Cypher, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested to see how this goes, especially seeing a Yoru on Haven. I can't say that we get those incredibly often, just with how unique of a character Yoru's utility is. But we've got Sova to be able to deal with Cypher trips, to try and like maybe take those out when we do those fast aggressive hits. But I think it's going to have to be a lot of like slow walking up lanes and then bursting out into a very explosive fashion to make sure that our Jet or doesn't get caught by the trips, or Yoru clone doesn't get wasted trying to clear one.
Yeah, and something interesting to note about the Yoru pick is they're picking it in addition to the Jet, which means that they're using Yoru as that sort of pseudo second initiator slot. But in doing so, they don't have a breach to help take advantage of the various lines that you can get with his concuss. A lot of his util just has very obvious pathways on Haven, which on one hand can be very good, but on the other hand can be a little bit hard to, or can be a little bit predictable. I'm curious to see if this Yoru is going to throw Indiana off, or throw Michigan off.
You know, it looks like Indiana is going to take a hit up A main here, shift walking all the way up. That dart is going to let the enemy team know that there is some presence here, though. Looks like we're only going to keep the Sova here, even though we heard Dart break. Everyone's just trying to hold their lines, not give up any more space than they need to. But that Concuss and that Blind are going to push Sova into a weird position. Druff is attempting to defend the site. He gets one. He gets Crisp. Nikolai trades out Druff. Ray swings out, getting Enjoy, making sure to stop the hit a little bit. Opted clears Ray Undaunted from Hell, attempting to get more space, stopping this hit, but Spike is going down, and they do not have site control to stop it. Omen TP's out of tower, following up his blind, but is unable to kill Pit. Simbreezy trades out the Omen out of tower. Spin kills Opted. 1v2 for Simbreezy, trying to bait them out, just jiggling that line, trying to get shots off. Does not hear Cypher rotate up, and unfortunately is unable to secure that round. First pistol going to, I believe, that is Indiana.
Michigan actually on the attack side, it looked a little dicey for them in quite a few moments. It looked like Indiana had the pre-take prepared, were looking to flood in off the tap, but they couldn't quite convert some of those necessary kills. And in the end, Indiana just not quite able to close it out. But we did get to see a little bit of how explosive that double duelist util can be on the defense. They just need to hit the shots to go along with it.
Yeah, no, some of those swings and shots were just unfortunate. Oh, a very early pick from Shadow Goober onto Opted. Unfortunate for Indiana to lose your jet, but we are running that double duelist, so all that aggression isn't lost yet. So we see our Yoru thinking about peeking up here. Yep, he peeks. Shadow Goober gets the second duelist off of the map. Pit playing in garage with a Bucky, gets one, but does get traded up by Nikolai as they're looking to fast rotate on a C here through garage. Simbreezy attempting to get a timing here. He gets one. The shots just don't connect, and Spin does take him out there. Now it's all left to Druff on a flank, but Shadow Goober is expecting it, getting a 3K and closing out a great round for Michigan there.
Yeah, and as expected, it is the anti-eco for the side of Michigan. Interesting to note, we did see a couple of them start buying up weapons, and going into this bonus round, their money is phenomenal. The guns that they're bringing in are just only a little bit behind what Indiana's bringing in, and they have the Neon with the Judge, so that one slightly weaker weapon is going to be on the character that can best use it.
You know, we've seen these buys coming out a lot more typically, and it looks like they're trying to do a similar hit to their pistol round hit here, waiting for that dart, and then just getting ready to go explosively up A main. Looks like we're ready to go explosively up A main. Looks like we're a little more aware to this now, knowing that this is what happened to us on pistol. They probably also saw the numbers of their buy that we were just talking about, have an idea that they've got some strong guns here. Neon trying to get one, getting blinded by the Yoru clone, stun going out and not finding anybody. Not committing this hit just yet, but we're peering up. There goes the breach stun, unable to find somebody. Ray and Donson and Nikolai both get shots. The Yoru is down. Druff trades out the breach. Ray getting a kill on Druff. Overall, bloodshed as we take over the bomb site on their bonus, showing explosive fire. Pit gets a good pick on Ray. The plant paused for now. Simbreezy is going to have to pull off a good shot here. Turn this 3v2 into a 2v2. Get some chip damage in, but unable to convert the kill just yet. Slowly peeking out. Looks like they're trying to hit this together. I don't think they have any more util to use. And Spin gets Simbreezy, and the second falls, and they convert that bonus round into a 3-0 lead for Michigan.
And one other thing that you might be scared about if you're Indiana is that was your sack site. You had 3 players playing on it. You were all ready for that. But unfortunately, you just couldn't convert it. They got run over, just straight up. We saw 2 picks coming in simultaneously. The third player on site now has to deal with 2 different angles of attack. And it just didn't look like there was any resistance coming out of the side of Indiana.
No, I'm really loving the synergy of the breach, the omen, and the neon. Just the stun blind is entirely oppressive. No matter how many people you have stacked on a site, all 3 of you are going to get hit by that stun. And the omen blind to follow it up really just makes that even more oppressive. And the neon's dash, how are you supposed to get away from all of that utility? Ooh, and a good shot from Ray Undaunted onto Enjoy, taking him out of the round early off as they push in a garage here, seemingly trying to make some space up towards C. Canceling their hit just a little bit after not being able to find another player peeking them, but they do have that space if they want it. Looks like we're rotating back towards grass, though, and towards our own spawn. As Omen lurks up towards A, trying to see if he can get another person peeking. As if you recall, we got both of our duelists peeking up from A short in main here.
Yeah, and it's like you said earlier, we're going to be seeing a lot of these teams just getting one pick, cutting noise, and looking to re-hit sides of the map. It's one of the biggest skills that you can have as a team is just knowing when to cut noise, when to throw a whole bunch of curveballs at your opponent, and then being explosive exactly when you need it.
Yeah, here it goes. That explosive hit on a site, but they're not expecting Druff in this corner. He gets one, but his gun runs out of ammo. Pick gets another. Spin converts that, though, into a trade. Spin kills Simbreezy, and it's a 2v1 again. Opt is going to have to pull off a miracle here. Got the timing on the cage, but it just wasn't enough. That clean double swing from Michigan secures them that 4th round. Now turning it into a 4-0 for Michigan.
Now, for Indiana, you did manage to find out some, not necessarily a weakness, but something that Michigan might have to be a little bit more aware of. They didn't quite check the corners well enough. They played a lot around with that idea of cutting noise and letting the aggression into silence throw Indiana off, but Indiana managed to hold firm, guessed correctly on the site, and they got a couple of picks about that. If you're on the side of Michigan, you might need to watch out for that in the future.
Looks like Opted getting that early op pick. Look, when all goes wrong, the operator is a powerful gun and creating some stopping power when you have teams that hits are so aggressive. But they're trying to push past it anyway, but Enjoy and Opted are holding the site down. Nikolai getting a pick on Pit, but Opted getting his 4th. Looking to get his 5th. Unfortunately gets sprayed out, but Enjoy does get the trade. A very nice 4K on the op for Opted. Finally converting around for the side of Indiana.
Yeah, I will say it is slightly interesting that after 4 straight A looks, we do see Michigan finally decide to go towards C, and they just get shut down immediately by the op. Opted managed to get way more shots off than they should have at any given point in time. And again, we talked about Michigan potentially not doing their due diligence and checking some corners, but the same is true for these longer angles that the op might be holding. They need to figure out a way to deal with these before they become an issue.
You know, I would also say part of that is thanks to Enjoy managing to pull some of those crosshairs over towards stairs. Looks like Neon's going up for an explosive ulti. Shadow Goober gets one. Hit is stunned in this corner, nowhere to go against the ulting Neon, and there it is. Ray Undaunted getting a kill on Pit. Looks like we're going to use Sovadrone to try and clear out Garage, regain some space here, find some angles that we can try and retake this site from. In a 5v3, though, it's looking a bit difficult. This op line is holding for somebody to scale up. They're not overextending. Ray Undaunted taking out Simbreezy. It's a 5v2 now. Do we save the op? Ray Undaunted gets his 3rd. It looks like Opted is just going to try and back out of here, save his gun. But they are on the hunt. See, Cypher Spin might have a timing on Opted here. Depends on who will peek who in window first. Oh, and just like you said, they don't always check their corners, and Opted might just get out of here alive for that mistake. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone else is going to re-clear. Whoa. And Spin realizes his error. That is some phenomenal trigger discipline from Opted to not give his location away. Just watch that Cypher walk out and hope he keeps walking.
Yeah, well played by Opted there, but again, Michigan just able to put up 0 defense on that C site. Shadow Goober, or not Shadow Goober, sorry, Pit, the other Omen, getting caught in just the worst situations, and Indiana just wasn't ready to pre-take in time.
You know, it's definitely a difficult spot. Like I said, the util dump that they're able to get because of the comps that they've picked, the Breach into the Omen into the Neon, the exact 3 agents I mentioned before are what flushed Pit out. The Breach stun and the Omen blind and then the Neon ult. It's all really hard to deal with as it's able to let you scale up incredibly fast with a lot of safety in the utility that you've got to use. And it looks like we're trying to do a hard A hit here. That Omen blind's going out. Op shot goes off, but it doesn't find anybody. Druff gets 1, but instantly gets traded out. Op doesn't find anybody. Spin gets 2. Nikolai gets 1. It's a 3v1. It just feels impossible right now. They're trying to hold down that A site, but it's just their shots aren't landing in the same way that Michigan's are right now. They're unable to find a good opening here to try and retake the site. We see Simbreezy pick up the op and yet again run to save it, trying to keep their gun buys somewhat comparable to the enemy. And it's going to be a 6v1, it looks like.
Yeah. And I mean, this op, so important. We saw that the one round that Indiana was able to get came off the back of a 4K with the op. But it's just not going to be held over. The money's likely not going to be there for Indiana. And it's going to be a long way before they can get this op again. Not quite as long as I thought it would be. And that Opted is still sitting on, well, he was sitting on about 3,000 worth of credits, but with the buy up into this, that op might not be very feasible in the near future.
No, yeah, it's looking like we're gonna have to do a safety buy here. They're buying deagles, buying lights, but while we go into the timeout that they're calling here, because they've really got to stop this momentum that Michigan just keeps building and building and building. It's hard when you stack 3 on a site and they still push right through, but Haven's full of straight lines, so when you've got util like Breach and you've got util like Omen to just clear those like vast expanses of space, it's nobody on the site seems to be unscathed by the utility that's coming towards them, and it just lets this Neon easily capitalize on all of that stun, all of that blind. It's really, really hard to hold a defense against. So what do you think that they could be doing differently?
If I'm Indiana, I'm looking at positioning my Omen and my Yoru in places where they can show a little bit of pressure on site and then get out. You have a comp that leans very heavily into this explosive util off the back of the double duelist, but we're not ever getting into a position where we can retake because we're losing so many players on site. They may have to just start giving up a little bit more space to this Neon Breach combo, which is a somewhat scary prospect, but if you're losing all of your players before the retake can even start, you're going to have no chance of retaking against a comp that still is very powerful in itself.
Yeah, it looks like we see a TP in. Dart scanning, not finding anybody though. Opted playing a very aggressive angle here. Trying to see if he'll be the first contact for anybody. We've also got Pitt. Pitt really seems to like playing this Bucky, which understandable if you can get your 1, if you can get your 2, that's worth to your team. We keep seeing him playing tucked in garage or tucked in cubby like we see right now, waiting for somebody to push his Bucky, but what he doesn't know is currently nobody's there. They're stacked up outside of A main, waiting to see if that they're going to take the space, and nobody does. So they swing towards garage, start spamming the walls on B. Looks like they're just really trying to find that early pick. Opted knows that if he keeps peeking that angle, he's probably going to get punished for it. Backing off after getting a body shot there. Everybody's playing very slow this round.
Yeah, Indiana should have a little bit of a heads up because of Pitt's advanced position, but it's just going to get checked. Or not. Pitt able to get 1. That is the smokes player, which is going to make any C retakes a little bit harder. But they have to get into this retake first. How well can Opted and Sniper hold the site?
Being very aggressive. We're peppering shots, trying to keep them off. Doing a pretty good job at it too. It's a 2v2. Unfortunately, Arstova's 1 health. Silver has a very good flank. Opted gets him, but unfortunately does get traded out by Sova, and they are unable to convert that round. Closer and a lot better played. We saw Michigan fall into the same thing when they pushed past Pitt there for a minute, that seemed to think about clearing that corner, but snapped away right before he got to that super close angle, and he got a 1 pump to the face for it. It did get traded out, but it shows kind of the worth of playing that Bucky up and aggressive like that. And also, just like you said, it's going to let them know exactly where they're hitting.
Yep. Another important thing to note is that a lot of Indiana's early util is just getting shut down. You don't have this breach to contest on things early, and the dart is just the same one over and over again. And Michigan are ready for it, but they're not ready for Opted.
No, they are not. Op is back online. We thought it would be a couple more rounds till we saw it. Looks like we're spamming through the smokes here. Both teams not wanting to give up this A main space. Yoru tucked in here, looking to get another pick with the Op. Op not finding anybody. Yoru flashing, trying to keep making use of this Op. The double duelist playing hyper aggressive on the A bomb site, peeking down main. And Jet does find Omen pushing through short, getting that pick off. As Sova scales up, they're trying a different play style here. This hyper aggression on main early, not letting them have the space, pushing that op with the flashes and with the Sova util to try and clear out the numbers. And they are in a 5v2 situation. This momentum shift starting to build here.
And most importantly, they should have a good idea of where these players for Michigan are. The tripwire and the camera both getting shut down will let Indiana know right where the gaps are, right where these last two players from Michigan are trying to take advantage of.
30
And
seconds.
they're positioned beautifully, but Enjoy can't hit the shot.
Yeah, no, unfortunately he does get taken out. Crosshair is just not exactly where it needs to be for that. Simbrizi is going to get revealed by that dart. He's going to try and cage on a site though. Either get a pick or stop this plant. Spin does get him. Op does take Sova out, and the Sova ult takes Cypher out. Them managing to convert that round, getting their second round on the board, helping push more into their favor as we're getting closer and closer to the side swap here.
That Sova ult going down is a bit of a costly investment to invest in a 5v2, but I understand why. You need that little bit of momentum going into the half. 7-5 isn't great, but given that Haven is a little bit attacker-sided, 7-5, or a defensive half where you get 5 rounds is definitely playable. You can definitely make something of it, but you do have to convert these last 3 rounds.
You know, it definitely feels better than if they had to go in with 1 or 2 rounds. Hopefully they'll be able to convert the rest. I'm a little bit worried about it. Dude, we saw for just a second the economy of their team, despite them converting that round, is still a little bit busted for our Yoru and our Cypher. They're not going to be able to, I think, have true full buys with all utility, full shields, and a rifle. Going to have to make some sacrifices here while Michigan still has a hearty and healthy buy just due to the amount of rounds they've won in a row now. But we've seen the worth that Opted's op can get, and that Sova ult was costly, but I think at this point we're going to have to start paying out big because playing gun v gun has not been working in our favor. I am a bit worried this round about the breach ulti on Michigan's side. That is going to be oppressive if they decide to hit a site with it.
Yeah, not just the breach ulti, the Sova ult as well. There's a lot of combo potential that we can see for how this round can play out. And Opted's not going to be on the early line to try and shut that down. So this could get a little bit dicey for the side of Indiana if they're not able to react in time.
You know, it looks like we're going to be playing aggressively towards A main again. Yeah, there it goes. Just trying to get some quick space, throwing that Omen smoke down to cover their clear. It looks like Sova's going to back off, potentially to give some respect to the breach ulti that people do tend to like putting out on that A bomb site. It just clears the entire site. Very useful if you're trying to do an aggressive hit there. Opted sees the shock, but isn't able to find anybody just yet. Still waiting, peeking up B with that op.
The dash
like
also
Michigan's
burned for
not-
Opted there.
Yes, yeah. Looks like Michigan's not trying to commit anything too hard just yet. Really wanting to get that opening pick like they've been doing before actually committing to a site hit here. Looks like Opted saw Cypher but whiffed. And there goes that ulti. Ulti is clearing out A site. The Jet's quick to rotate on from playing off site. Does get the Sova. Simbrizi's concuss spam. Gets Neon off of the board as well. It's a 5v3 for Michigan. They're going to have to find a way to get this bomb down while everybody is reflooding the site. Yoru ulti going to clear their exact locations. Shadow Goober manages to get Pit. Manages to get Enjoy on the site, but Opted clears him from window. Crisp clearing Simbrizi and Druff. It's a 2v1 now. Opted with the op, and they managed to convert that. Michigan takes an 8th round here.
Yeah, the punish just not quite there. The retake, you could tell that the ideas were there. We're going to go in with this Uriel, we're going to play it off of the Cypher trick that we've gotten the kill off of, and we're just going to punish them like that. But somewhere along the lines, the communication just broke down. I don't think the Uriel quite scouted everything that it needed to, and the players for Michigan were just able to stay alive in these random positions that Indiana just wasn't ready for. They didn't have any util dedicated towards clearing them, and it just wasn't enough.
No, and it was hard for them to capitalize off that Yoru ulti, and a lot of this too seems to be an issue of just shots not connecting in the ways that they're trying to get them to. Yoru popping out of that ulti and unable to find the person that he had just blinded before they could shoot him. Looks like we're trying to be aggressive here though, and we are getting punished for it. It's a 3v2. Cypher committing this ulti, trying to get the last 2 spotted out. Opted getting spammed from his spot tucked in the cage, just trying to get out with his life. Manages to do so, but not without getting tagged. Druff got Crisp, however, making the situation a 2v2. Looks like we're playing off-site here. Nikolai is tucked in Cubby. I assume they're going to be playing for Sova ulti if this is the play that they're going for. Optic getting spotted out by Drone, playing on plat, and yep, He's committing that ulti, and they knew it was coming, so they're just throwing darts and shock. Trying to figure out what's going on, get them closer to hitting that bomb. They're going to smoke him off. Try and go for this defuse here. Opted gets one, Opted gets the second, and they are going to get that defuse. A great retake coming from Opted and Druff there.
Yeah, Druff getting the spam kill onto Crisp, who's planting the bomb, was huge. They knew exactly where Crisp was going to be because of Opted's earlier information. And Opted just able to get that, stay alive, get out. And suddenly, Druff and Opted find themselves in a very winnable 2v2, especially when Spin and Nikolai weren't able to get rid of that shock, or the recon bolt. Their positions were known. The Hunter's Fury just never quite played out how it should. And the slight deviation on where Spin thought Druff was going to be was enough for them to get it halved and force them to start playing a little bit more aggressive to defend the bomb.
Looks like we're taking this aggressive angle on A main again, but that's not where Michigan's looking to try and get this last round of the half. We've got people playing in grass, peeking garage, yet again, looking for that first hit. We've got the Sova drone coming out, but Pin is it here with a judge. They're blinding it and they're stunning it. Neon ulti goes down, and Pitt can't find any worth with his judge in garage. You see Breach go out, Simbrizi does get hit by this. He unfortunately is unable to get a kill. Crisp shooting him off. Almost gets the kill on Ray. He's bleeding, he's hurt, but it's still 4v3 in Michigan's favor. See Shock Dart going out as Opted hits the site aggressively, unable to land those shots though. Nikolai getting Opted. Druff Shock Dart taking out Nikolai though. That last bit of help being chipped off. It's a 4v2. Indiana's gonna have to make something happen here. And unfortunately, Ray was already really low health. Now it's a 2v3. It's a little bit more winnable for Indiana's sake. We've got two people playing in main, one person clearing up garage, trying to get this like late lurk, but they're expecting it. We see Yoru peeking here. But now all their focus is going towards main. Spin might be able to get it here, and he does. He plays the timing. He waits till his teammates in main draw that pressure, and then he swings out, converting it into a 9-3 for Michigan on the side switch here.
Spin has been lights out so far for Michigan. He's been fragging out. He's been playing well. He's been hyper aware of what's been going on. Definitely a player to watch out for, especially on this defensive side where he's going to be tasked with shutting down not just one but two duelists playing the Cypher role.
Yeah, I'm wondering if their goal here is just going to be avoiding the C site entirely, knowing that Spin has been a force to be reckoned with. His timings have been immaculate, like we saw there. At first, Yoru was peeking garage. If he swung there, he would have died, but he waited just that 1 second, that 2 seconds longer, and managed to get an easy double because they weren't paying any more attention to garage at that point. And it does look like, at least for this pistol, that they're not going to even try and deal with where they know that Cypher utility is probably at, and they're going to go A site instead. We see some Breach utility going down on A main. Enjoy getting the first pick on Nikolai to start out this pistol round. Ray Undaunted doing a fast flank short, unable to get a kill though, and is going to dash back to try and defend this site.
There's not really anywhere for Ray to retreat to. He's just kind of stuck here. He's going to have to take a fight to get out.
Those shots aren't connecting. He gets hit by his own stun. He knows they're closing in. He's going to have to do something, and it's just not possible. Simbrizi taking him out here. Spin. Pushed out just a bit. Trying to wait till that smoke goes down. Does get one. Another swings him, but he gets Opted. Taking Opted down. Crisp gets Simbrizi down. It's a 3v2 now. It's a 3v1. Everything's falling apart. Truff has to play alone in hell, and unfortunately, 3 people swinging you not in a line. You're not able to convert all those kills. And Michigan does take that pistol round again.
Yeah, and who else is it but Spin? Getting them across that line, getting 4 out of the 5 kills in that round. Not even with any util, no upgraded weaponry, just him rotating over from C-Site with the Classic and just being like, yeah, oh, this is doable. Some of those kills that he got were also just absurd. He's only died 4 times.
He's only died 4 times.
18 and 4.
He has just played so calm every time we've seen his perspective. Even when he has 2 people swinging, his decision making has been calm and it's been rational. It's been, I need to get the kill on this guy, and then I switch to this guy. And his shots have been calm, they've been steady, and they've been on the head, and it's helped him convert so many of these rounds for his team.
And here you see something Michigan can do that Indiana weren't quite able to. They can get this player so far up into A lobby with the help of the Breach. Now, part of that is that Indiana's offering 0 resistance as they're pressuring Raj. But just know how powerful that Breach Neon combo is, especially fighting forward for A main. they have 3 players just already shifted to the C side of the map, and Rayondanted's going to get so much info.
Ray hears the jump peek. Do they expect him in this corner? They don't. He gets one. Is he able to get the second? He has to throw the stun out, trying to save his own life here. Gets Omen blinded, but Neon is out of there. They're unable to get that kill. It's a 4v3 now in Michigan's favor. Neon and Sova both holding this long. Nikolai gets one. Nikolai gets two. The last one is right here, and there goes Ray getting the last. Michigan played that just so calculated and so calm. Really loved seeing when they were peeking garage there in the beginning. Chris saw one, didn't land a shot, just immediately backed off. Didn't let himself over peak, didn't let himself get picked off by chip damage. Played very calm, very controlled, kept their numbers, and all that like cool collectedness seems to be converting rounds for them.
Yeah, and even when Crisp did die, the trade was immediate. It got one and then was able to get nothing else. Shut down immediately by this heavy trading attack of Michigan.
Intense aggression coming out as they plan to clear all this mid space. That stun getting them some value. Ray killing off Breezy, but Opted is able to trade him out just as swiftly. But do they expect that he was the only one that pushed it? It looks like they're nervous. They're waiting for more people to appear from grass. But nobody else is there. We're taking the C long control. Really trying to make sure.
Cypher anymore.
They don't. They don't have Cypher to know who's on their flank. And they know that people came from mid. It looks like we're just taking all this map control. And Opted does get Crisp there. Does he expect the second holding close? It looks like he does. And there he goes. Clean shots, clearing out Crisp and Shadow Goober as they are unable to land the shots there, unfortunately. Turning this into a 3v2 in Indiana's favor. Converting this round needs to be done for them to stay competitive right now. The round disparity does not allow for them to lose this. They won't have money to be able to buy next if they can't win here. Shoot out the trip. Nikolai is already waiting in tower. Can he convert here? He does dink one. Unable to finish the kill, though, as they TP on his site. Immediately shooting at that dart, and he gets spammed by Opted. Opted getting another 4K, as Cypher is either going to have to commit to this or rotate on. Looks like he's going to go up grass and maybe try and do a flank here. We'll be able to see if Opted is able to get an ace this round, comparatively to his last 4K, which he was not able to convert. Spin looking a little stuck, trying to throw his gun out of sound range so they can't hear it. Picking up a Vandal here. Looks like he might just go for exits, yeah.
I mean, you've got the 50 HP. You're going to have to rebuy all your util anyways. You might as well get the extra Vandal for essentially not much less than what your loss bonus would be otherwise.
Yeah, it looks like he really wants to hurt their economy too, knowing how important this round and having these guns are to them with the current round disparity. Looks like he might find one, and he does kill Opted. Opted unable to get that ace. Sticking with that 4K as Spin does get spammed out by Pit. Looks like he was really just going to try and take guns out of their hands, knowing that their economy and situation was a lot worse.
Yeah, and even then, you know that you're on 11 rounds. That's something that you can reasonably do. Normally, I'd be much more in favor of saving there, but when you only need these 2 rounds to win, any bit of damage is just going to last for a while, and as long as you can buy into next round, which you're planning on doing anyways, you might as well give yourself that little bit of extra chance to convert this next round, which should snowball into the last one that you need.
Ray trying to play some early aggression here again, dashing up short, spamming through the smoke, but Breezy is tucked away. He is not going to be able to find anybody there. As we see our Yoru clone pushing up on a B, pushing towards the back of B site. Chris jiggling this with his knife out, just trying to see if they're going to push up off of that info. Yoru TP going on a B. They fake the TP here. It's pulling a little bit of attention, but I think they're going to be able to quickly sniff out that that did not, in fact, happen as they watch Sobadrone go up through garage. Spin playing on the back of site here. And it looks like we're trying to posture for a C hit. We've got 3 people trying to take garage space, 2 people towards C, but again, nothing is being committed just yet. They're really just trying to pull info and gain space here. Playing these really slow, calculated rounds. Got 50 seconds left on the clock.
And we see a little bit of stall out of the side of Indiana because they're not entirely sure where they want to go. And because they don't have the second initiator, they just kind of have to face clear anything. It's going to work for Enjoy, though, as they're able to get Rayondanteded. And they're shifting back towards C after this.
Yeah, now that they have the numbers in their favor, they're feeling more confident in the C hit, even though Cypher's still up. And we see that Jet just commit to the site. Getting spotted by Trip though. However, so many blinds are going out. Shadow Goober can't see a thing. Not able to capitalize off that Trip. Looks like they're going to clear out the Cypher, but do they clear close? And Smoke gives away his position. Optin spamming him out, but Spin's getting the trade on Opted and getting Enjoy. Druff kills Spin. Pill kills Crisp. And it's a 3v1 in Indiana's favor with Nikolai pushing up through garage here. We have a timing though. Simbreezy's got him. Nikolai unfortunately gets Druff, but Simbreezy trades him out quickly. Another round in Indiana's favor. I do have to admit though, I am a little worried. A lot of people died for the state that their economy's in.
Yeah, but
Indiana's gonna have to.
But with this second win in a row, they should probably be fine. You can see that Simbreezy's chilling at a crisp. Obviously that's not even before 4,900 going to drop over a rifle to Opted as well. Their money isn't phenomenal, but as long as they can convert this round, they should be set for a good bit.
Yeah, as long as they convert this, it keeps Michigan poor and it keeps them healthy. That's all that they need. They need to keep their money up because they're kind of in what I like call playing on life support. It's any loss of rounds, any devastating like hit to the economy is going to be devastating with only 2 rounds off a loss. Looks like we're trying to commit an A hit here, throwing out the Omen blind at the back of sight. We've got Cypher sitting up in short, and it looks like they're going to kind of let him have the plant here, just spamming some shock darts, but getting counter spam by bullets up into heaven, bringing Nikolai to 66 health. I'm going to drone out and try and find them. As more shocks go up towards 7. And Michigan's going to have to find an angle to start this retake here. They throw the breach utility out to clear hell. Randonson's on the site, does get one, but Enjoy kills Crisp. Raven launches his ulti out. Shadow Goober gets one, Nikolai gets one, Ray on Dante gets 3, and unfortunately, when we were just talking about how important it was for them to win this round, they were unable to convert it. Bringing Michigan 1 off of the map win.
I didn't come here to die.
Ray's hoping that their ultimate expires so that they can get the extra pip for the ult charge, but not going to be needed, or not going to be gotten, might not be needed. Is Michigan going to find map point on this first map?
Go, go, go.
Yeah, they're on map point and their economy is healthy, whereas I can't say the same entirely for Indiana. For the most part, we have 3 rifles, but Druff is rocking a Stinger, and looks like Jet's going to go Knives here to try and convert something. We do see that Indiana does 5 ultis to play with, though, so this might be one of those ulti dump rounds trying to convert something. Using a Sova ulti to clear space or a Yoru ulti to get info. Indiana's going to need to pull out all of the stops if they're going to want to stay competitive here.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing, if you are Indiana, is that because of the situation that you're in, you have to keep cycling through these ults. You can't quite save them for when Michigan has all their ults in a way of, and use them as a way of responding to that, because you're more concerned about winning every individual round. You can't afford to give up another round, or else you're out of this first map. So that means you have to spend the ults as they come. You have 5 ults now, sure, but Michigan's already starting to get there with 2 of their own. Obviously, the Neon ult's not going to be there for a good bit, but it was just used to win a round. What happens when these other ults come online for Michigan? How is Indiana going to respond if they can't get this ult cycle to line up in a way that's at least somewhat favorable to them?
And we still have we have a good ulti this round for Michigan. If Indiana tries to play in a typical spot, then we've got Sova ulti to deny that, just kind of spam them off the bomb there. This is a bit of a precarious round for them to go into, even with 5 ultis, but it looks like they're committing their first 2. Jet popping Knives like expected. You're ripping ulti to clear sight. Sees that Clone gets Sun, is able to ping that tripwire for his team. Jet dashing up to try and convert something here, but Cypher is going to spam Ray out, making it a 5v4. Indiana is being aggressive. They don't want to lose this. They are spamming towards spares. That Cypher ulti committed. We do get one using Knives there. Jet spotted by the dart, but she continues to play up no matter if the Omen blind comes out. They throw smoke down. Simbreezy able to trade out. It's a 5v2. It's a 5v1. They hop up in window, and it's a 5v none. Indiana able to get that round, but at the cost of 4 of their 5 ultis that they had up.
Yeah, but in a sense, you're more or less fine with that. Sure, you did just spend 4 out of the 5, but the Jet helps, or using the Knives for that Jet does help you get your economy back into check a little bit. The Yoru ult for the take, and then the Omen and Cypher ults, while impactful, aren't quite the most impactful. So keeping that Sova ultimate online is going to be huge for Indiana.
No, definitely. Whatever they need to convert around, like I said, they're going to have to use because the option is either use it or lose the map. They're kind of backed into a corner with their options here. They can't give rounds. They can't save for next. None of that is an option for them. They're going to have to continue with this aggression, continue landing these shots like we see Opted just do. Looks like they're trying to play him out by having him tucked, but they're unable to land the shots. That stun goes out, but not before he gets picked off. However, Cypher does get traded by Michigan's Cypher, putting Indiana into a 4v3. They still have numbers. They still have the advantage here. Looks like they were committing. They were TPing towards backside, flashing it, gaining that space. So they're going to tap bomb here to make Nikolai swing out. They know that people like playing tucked like that, and they do get the kill. It's a 4v2 now in Indiana's favor. We've got Spin approaching window here. We've seen how much he can do. The shots unfortunately don't land. Unlucky timing jumping up on a window there, and right before that, Owen picked off another person. Shadow Goober lurking up here, trying to get something. In a 1v3, it's hard. Everyone's playing in their positions. This cross should protect them. And he gets one, but that does get spammed out by the Yoru, giving Indiana yet another round, getting them their 7th round on Haven.
As soon as they pop up on the minimap, there's just not really anything that they can do. Valiant effort in that retake, and a good bit of awareness to realize that Simbrizi falling is going to make Indiana's flank a lot weaker, which allowed them to catch off Opted, but unfortunately just not much more that Michigan could do. And now these chances are starting to grow fewer and fewer. We were at 5-12, now we're at 7-12, but Michigan finally back on a bye round.
Yeah, Michigan, they're really trying to close the gap. Indiana's been playing really well. They've been punishing Michigan's hyper-aggression, getting that first pick, and then instantly speeding up their tempo. That seems to have been really working out for them these past couple of rounds. Knowing that Ray likes to swing out, but Ray swinging out again. Those shots a little messy at first, but he does manage to get Opted and get out unscathed. It's now a 4v5 for Indiana, a very unfortunate member of their team to lose. Opted has been such a player in converting so many rounds for them, and they're going to have to figure their way out without him. Looks like we shift walk up through grass here. We've got Cypher hitting this lurk. The rest of his teammates, one's peek window. Looks like really just going for this mid space, like we've talked about. Positioning towards B, but they don't expect the one tucked close. Crisp getting Simbrizi out. It's a 5v2 situation. Things are looking dire. That ulti goes out, letting them know their exact locations. Spin trying to get Yoru here. Does manage to convert him. It's a 1v5 for Druff. Is he going to be able to convert it? He's very low, and he is unfortunately unable to pull that round back on his own for his team. Michigan taking map 1.
Yeah, and looking very, very strong while doing so. There were definitely some holes in their game plan, notably the ways that they were clearing angles could be a little bit tighter, but they were on fire with everything else. They were playing very well coordinated, not giving up any unnecessary picks, and just playing as a very well-rounded unit. The leaderboard is just going to show that as well. 4 out of the 5 for Michigan, right up there. Opted doing his best, putting up an outstanding performance, but unfortunately not able to drag the rest of the team across. Meanwhile, Michigan showing a very unified front. Even Crisp, who was down there on the scoreboard a little bit, still had a very, very good game. It's just, you're playing Breach on Haven. There's not that much that you can do in terms of the individual fragging power, especially when Spin and Ray are taking all of your kills.
You know, sometimes the numbers aren't everything because a lot of that Breach utility, although his assists aren't high, it's because a lot of it was using the clear space. He would get people pushed out to get hit by Omen or get hit by something else instead. So as much as his numbers don't reflect it, he was a critical part of many of the hits that they committed on that site. And I always say it is terrifying when your Cypher is your top frag. Sentinels aren't built to be like the top fraggers, although they've got some util that they're able to play on themselves. When you've got somebody like Spin, who's just playing effortlessly with or without his trips, able to land those like calm and collected shots, the game feels impossible to play, especially when you're on attacker sided, which Indiana did feel as they went up against them. And Indiana had a pretty good comeback starting, though. It's worth noting. They did start to snowball some rounds, and they did kind of find the holes. Like I said, playing with that
hyper aggression coming from Ray Undaunted on Michigan, waiting for him to swing out, trying to convert those early kills and then do a fast hit off of it. But it seemed like Michigan was able to kind of notice that gap and then play this kind of re-hit angle. Like we saw when Optic got re-cleared out of that cubby there by Ray. It's just playing the patience game with these two teams seem to be what it's all about, knowing exactly when you need to be aggressive and explosive.
Yeah. And as one final note, going back to Spin and how good they were playing. The whole reason that Opted was able to stay at the top of the leaderboard despite having a couple fewer kills than Spin was because of the multi-kills. That means that in order for Spin to have racked up that many kills and still be under Opted, he was finding impact nearly every single round. In addition to some of the multi-kills that we were able to see, they were just getting so much value in just these very individual situations, which is exactly what you want out of your Sentinel. And going onto a map like Sunset that still favors the Cypher and favors pretty much the exact style of play that Michigan were displaying on Haven, that's pretty scary for any Indiana fans. That you're going to have to fight this Cypher, this unified front that Michigan's showing, all on a map that you're not entirely sure whether or not you're going to be able to play it the way you want with how much Michigan is controlling the pace of the map.
You know, we saw Optic get at least 2 4Ks that game. I think also potentially a 3K thrown in there as well. And all of that only squeezed him a few points above Spin, which is exactly like you said. It means is it probably just translates to each round at least. Spin was always good for his, if not two. Which, although it's not these big flashy multi-kill numbers, it's exactly like you said. It's what you want. You want your Sentinel to be always good for theirs. You want their util coming in clutch. You want them to be able to get spams off their trips. You want them to have that intense stopping power that we saw come from Spin, just delaying those hits, delaying those plants. He was a dominant force on their team and is, I think, also going to be a dominant force on Sunset. There are so many places for Sentinels to play. There's so much worth for Sentinels to get on both of these bomb sites. With if he plays Cypher again, like you said, there's a lot of deep trips trying to hit A that are really annoying to try and get through when you're trying to get the bomb on the site and make it really easy to kind of play back site and play off of those trips, play for spam. Hitting B is a nightmare, trying to either get through elbow, or if you can't get through elbow, get through link, but people can stack and do high lows on link or be tucked on the boxes that are up on site. If he plays that Cypher again, I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw similarly from him on Haven. Just that always good for his, always good for two, all of that stopping power that we saw.
Yeah. And it does bring up an interesting point. In order to counter this attack side from Michigan that we saw be so good on Haven, we're going to have to see a major change of pace from Indiana. And that might revolve around how they were using their Cypher to counter this play. I don't have any strong data to back this up, but since I haven't seen a Michigan game, but I'm assuming that if they're running this Neon Breach comp on Haven, they're probably going to display something very, very similar on Sunset. Whether or not it's the Neon, whether or not it's the Rays, that Breach Sova core is just so strong, and the way that they were using it on Haven makes me think that they're just going to transfer that right over to Sunset. But if they do, and you're Indiana, you do get this chance between maps to start thinking about how you might approach that. You might think about running a slightly different defensive look, especially when it comes to your own Sentinel of choice, which is likely going to be Cypher, but who knows? We might see something different. We've seen, like even in professional play, we've seen some slight Sentinel changes, especially after the new map, but a lot of times it still is the Cypher. But even when you're playing Cypher on Sunset, there are a lot of different ways that you can utilize him. You can utilize him as a way of getting info around the middle of the map. You can use him to lock down either A or B site, and how Indiana chooses to approach that is going to have to provide some sort of challenge for Michigan, unlike how it was on Haven.
No, most definitely. I think that too, Sunset is another good map where we can see some capitalization of that double initiator. People really like playing Gecko on this map, but I've noticed that Gecko can sometimes feel a little bit weak if he's played as a single initiator. But pairing somebody like a Gecko with a Breach or something like that really adds for a lot of that explosive power that we saw get Michigan a lot of rounds. Just that double utility and all that you're able to kind of do with having those two work together, the synergy that they provide provides a lot of worth. I wonder if Indiana will transition into playing a comp that's more like that, just really trying to play off utility here. It looks like as we're going into Sunset here, we're going to shortly be getting into our agent select screen, being able to see exactly what both teams are wanting to run here. And it looks like we are going to see that traditional double initiator comp this time coming from the side of Michigan. And we are waiting to see what Indiana's locking. We do see those ciphers again, though, which I'm excited to see get worth on this map. And there's the double initiator, like I mentioned, from Indiana, as well as a Clove. This is a very aggressive team comp. Breach, Sova, Neon, Clove are all like fast pushing players. You're going to see Sova trying to clear out trips, getting info, clearing the back of sight. You're going to see Breach throwing stuns out into places like Market or up into Boba, throwing out those flashes to clear out back sight. You're going to see Clove be able to push in and die and still be able to smoke for their team. And Neon is the pushing agent of all time. Nobody pushes faster than she does. So this will be an interesting, I think, change of pace from Indiana's side, trying to adapt to Michigan's play style.
And one other thing that I'd like to consider, Opted was on Jet last map. He'll be switching over to the Breach. That is not a very, those are two very different agents, and while we have seen some players in higher levels make that type of switch, the main one that I can remember being Artis on Na'Vi, it's still such a different change of pace for players to play around. But I can tell that Opted might be a little, or I would assume that Opted's up for the challenge.
And it looks like Opted's got some lamps to push in a market here, and we're already seeing that worth. Him getting a kill off of his util early. Looks like we cannot count him out. He seems practiced. This just might be the team comp that they run for this specific map. Spin with a clean shot on Enjoy, who was sliding in there. They do still, however, have the sight control. Spin unable to hold the whole thing down by himself, and then he's going to play the 4v4 retake here. Ray lurking up their main. Looks like they're spamming shots through into market. Just kind of shooting back and forth, trying to get that chip damage off on both sides, but Ray's got a good flank here. The shots land. They eventually do. He gets two before getting traded out by SimBreezy, but Chris was able to swing out. And they do manage to convert that round, that ending very quickly. It seems to be like all of these retakes, like post-plant retakes, end up happening very, very fast. Both teams really like kind of flooding all at once their flanker seems to arrive to site.
Yeah, it's just a very cohesive retake out of Michigan, playing off of the distraction that Ray creates. And even though Ray is a little bit whiffy, the shots aren't necessarily the most important thing. By putting that extra bit of pressure on the flank, you get this scenario where everybody's now focused on this Neon that's coming in from your own spawn, and that provides just such it provides a much easier look for the rest of the Michigan players to get through.
No, most definitely, and it's exactly like you said. Even though some of those shots did whiff, they ended up connecting at the end of the day, and overall pulling that attention did allow the people to swing out of market. We've got Shadow Goober in like the 10 spot, sitting on top of this box and market, waiting to see if somebody's going to push into him here, as they are trying to take up some mid space on their pistol due to losing that first round. Everybody is waiting for everybody else to swing. Patience coming from both sides, but that swing is coming out. Nikolai able to get the kill on Enjoy before getting stunned by Breach. Unable to find worth there with that peek up mid. And we just resume to holding patiently. Spin is not giving anything away. Michigan is going to wait for them to push into them because they know they have the gun advantage here. Got two people holding both sides of market. We see him. Opted gets the first frag, getting Shadow Goober, but Spin does get the trade out on Opted, reclaiming that Guardian to be able to use. We hear SimBreezy cross the cage, know that he's inside somewhere in market. Oh, but the shots don't land, unfortunately. SimBreezy taking out Spin. We see Ray on Dante, though, trying to finish the job off on SimBreezy, able to do it. Pitt goes up in a boba, getting the kill on Nikolai. It's a 2v2. They're trying to take Crisp out here. That swing together allows that for them. Ram Daunted trying to take the timing here, getting onto the front of sight, but knowing he's going to get pushed from Market. He manages to get one, but now it's a 1v1. Rips the ulti and is able to convert that second round for them. Getting a 3K. Very, very costly, though, what was supposed to be their gun advantage. Getting into such a close 1v1 there. Looks like he's going to keep the Outlaw going into this next round here.
Does miss the Sheriff on the ground, though. That could be a gun for somebody else to use.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, if you're Indiana, you're a little bit disappointed that you lose to a round 2 Neon Ultimate, but at the same time, if that's what it takes for them to convert that round 2, you're set up to be in such a good spot going forward.
Yeah, that round is promising for them.
Yeah, they're gonna get these weapons up. Pitt does have to go down to a Guardian, but ultimately you're mostly fine with that. Indiana looking to respond with a round of their own going into this, going into the bonus for Michigan.
Yeah, they throw an early stun there, but I'm unable to find any worth off of it just yet. Everybody playing patiently again, holding these tight angles. Ray manages to hit Clove in the chest, but unable to land that second shot. Pitt getting away with their life here. As it looks like they're rotating more towards doing an A hit. I see Sova fast rotating through spawn with the bomb, heading over to the A bomb site. As everybody is just waiting for just any piece of info, trying to give somebody away. Enjoy pushing off the Flash here, but Flash doesn't get any as Chris holding close with a shorty. And like you said, they just don't clear that corner there. Does get traded out by Druff. But Druff is also with Pitt now on life support, 1 health. Any shot from a classic would take both of them out. It's a 4v4, but it surely does not feel that way for the side of Michigan. Those lack of corner clears that we saw hinted out on Haven now proving to be fatal for them. Randonta gets the first kill, getting Druff out of the game, one of the 1 health people. Pitt manages to get a kill on Nikolai. Ray manages to trade out Pitt. Simbrizi getting a kill on Shadow Goober. Spin getting the kill on Simbrizi. It's a 1v1. Opted securing that round, taking out the rest of Michigan, turning it into a 2v1 when they lost Pistol.
Opted seemingly good for these shots when the rest of his team isn't. Manages to close it out, but just like we had last round for Michigan, this round not that great for Indiana. We're going to be seeing Druff go down to the regen shields, as well as, no, actually, Simbrizi and Pitt just going to have to be on these light shields. They haven't been able to get these buys going. Enjoy does manage to get the full shields up, but it's still shaky. Even though you have these rifles, you haven't been ready for these Michigan retakes yet.
Looks like they're remembering this early aggression that Randonta likes to commit, and they're able to get the frag off of a util dumping till he can't see and he can't move. It's already a 5v3. Chris unable to land those shots, turning it into a 5v2. I don't know if peeking there was worth it when you just don't have the numbers to back you up if anything goes wrong. It's a 5v2, and it looks like we're going to be moving to save our guns here. Yeah, there's not much to do about that.
I'm very curious as to what Indiana saw in that last round that made them think that, hey, we can get away with slamming A. I know we just lost 4 players and almost lost the round, but we can get away with actually getting onto site. I think they just processed that even if Michigan is stacking that site, as long as they can counter this early aggression, which we have seen quite a bit from Ray, they can figure out a way to get onto site.
Yeah, I think that big difference was committing a lot of util spam there. They're unable to find one. Shadow Goober is spotted, but he manages to get the kill instead of getting killed. But yeah, I think the big difference was just all of that utility spam that they threw up in A elbow there, managing to clear out one. And they had the Sova that was swinging off of Link, but they were expecting it, managing to get that second kill, immediately pushing it to a 5v3 in their favor. I think they just know if they expect to get pushed and they play like they've already being run down by the Neon, then using that utility there is a good commit. It allows them to convert those rounds.
Yeah. It definitely seems like Michigan are starting to get a little bit predictable with what they're doing on A main, but again, how do you stop it if you're Indiana? You're able to run over them 1 round, and now it seems like this delayed util is going to drive them back again.
Yeah, no, this util they really love dumping this util to try and force Ray Undaunted out of whatever spot that he's run into, and it's proven to be very effective so far. Though we only have pistols, we're still playing this really deep, waiting until we get pushed into, not wanting to overpeak here. Even there, Spin sees the one, but immediately falls back off with his knife out, not wanting to give his life away for this. The breach util is going to push him deeper into market, though. It's just so effective for clearing those close cubbies and those corners there. Looks like they're trying to get some early picks, though, before the bomb goes down. Spin staying tucked on a site. Shadow Goober in Boba. That blind's not going to hit the Neon, though. Enjoy pushing through it. Chris getting a clean shot off on Enjoy, but Drum spamming that Spin. It's a 1v4, but all he's got is a deagle. Is he going to decide that it's worth the fight? He will. He gets the kill on Simbreezy. He's getting pushed up by 2 people from market, though. The third also pushing him in Boba. They are playing hyper aggressive to try and take him out here. And yeah, that spam is just going to take him out. Full blind doesn't matter. You can still just hold left click.
Indiana starting to put together a very well put together series of rounds. They are looking very cohesive right now, which is a nice change of pace, especially after a map 1 where they were looking like they were kind of split up a bit. It didn't seem like they were entirely on the same page, but now it seems like they're humming at a much more in-tune frequency with each other.
You know, although Opted can get a lot of aggression and a lot of frags off playing somebody like Jet, just a pure fragger, he's getting a lot more worth, I think, playing somebody that can not only frag, but also has util like Breach does. Just all of the blinds and stuns that he's been getting out to get kills for himself and for his team. They're allowing them to do what they just did on A, just easily stun and swing, clearing out that space, claiming site for themselves. It's going to be a fast rotate over from the side. Michigan gets one. Pit goes down. Pit is ulting. Shadow Goober blinds and gets blinded in trade. Optic getting spammed. Spotted out. Spin getting Enjoy down. Druff getting Spin. Chris is spamming through the wall. Getting one with his util. Getting another. Oh my gosh. Nikolai and Goober in the 2v1 here. Are they going to be able to convert this round? Will they be able to get Druff out? Druff tosses his dart. We have bomb at half already. They just have to convert this, and they do. Very well played on the side of Michigan there, but these rounds are all looking just all too close for both teams.
And unfortunately, right as I complimented how well Indiana were playing together, we get moments like that where Pitt just ends up swinging out of the CT smoke, not sure of anything that's beyond it, and just ends up dying for it. It's not... Indiana are so close to being there. They're so close to having these perfectly cohesive sight hits. They're just flubbing it at the last hurdle. These moments where they're trying to get set up in these retake scenarios just aren't quite working out for them. Or more accurately, they're working out for them sometimes, but when they do work out for them, it's still very close. And when they don't work out for them, it leaves them reliant on these hero plays by other players like Opted or Druff, which we've seen across both maps now.
You know, it very much looks like there's just a lot of little things like timings, clearing corners, all of like the little fundamentals are where we're kind of really getting tripped up on both sides. Michigan was showing a lot of struggles with clearing corners, getting picked off by places that they've cleared but haven't re-cleared in a minute. And Indiana, I'd say, is losing to those timings. I think Pitt thought that there is no way that somebody would already be pushed up alley like that. There's no way they would have crossed the other side of alley. If anything, they're going to still be trying to push here to retake. And so he blindly swings that and gets picked off from the side, and they need to be more aware of where people can be at all times if they're wanting to convert more rounds here.
We see this.
I feel like we see a 5-man
punish.
stack here. Yeah.
I remember seeing a couple of teams using it in a recent tournament, but I'll get into that later as the sight hit comes very quickly here.
Yeah, that breach ulti, they're not wanting to let Ray get out and his teammates swing to try and help him get out of danger, but they just all lose their lives for it, able to convert all 3 of those kills. Now it's just Nikolai and Spin left to try and convert this round here. That hit was so cohesive, and I saw the vision for that defensive effort. Ray not immediately getting picked off and they figuring that they can just swing out and try and get him there, but both of them lost their lives for it. And it looks like Nikolai and Spin might be waiting till they get peaked here playing for exits.
It does seem like they're already, or that Indiana are thinking that they're already going for a save. Hit is on the other side of the map for no good reason.
For no reason. They're running back.
Yeah.
They run back through tiles.
Is scary, but ultimately it is still a 4v2 on site. The two aren't quite going to win that, and Spin is not going to be ready for this.
Oh, that is a brutal moment. Although Pitt did make a little bit of a harrowing early call to run to the other side of the map, and we did see them jiggle out there, potentially thinking about trying to do a late retake. Losing both of those guns to Pitt just being everywhere on the map does not feel good for the side of Michigan.
And it does look like we are going to have a disconnect in the lobby. I believe that's the coach for the side of Indiana. So
yeah, Stone is.
We'll give them a moment or two to get back into the lobby, or not. But one thing that I mentioned last round before, or as the action was getting started, was the anti-door close that Indiana were using against Michigan there. It's something that we've seen a couple different pro teams do, and it's very simple. You just send the aftershock in, it blocks them from closing the door, and you have to wait a moment before the switch actually activates, which gives the aftershock time to fully prime and get a little bit of chip damage.
Yeah, it looks like this round is starting up here already. We see Enjoy and them stacking towards this B main again. And they're going to just do a fast take here, as they know that they don't really have the money to have all the Cypher util down to stop it. But we see Spin playing up in Boba, holding a Stinger, waiting to see if they're going to try and clear the space aggressively, as they have been. Enjoy is thinking about it, trying to clear his left and his right, but that's hard to do at this point with the timings he's got. But he uses his stun to swing in there, does manage to get the kill on Spin. He gets blinded out, but unable to convert a kill with it. Nikolai gets some spam off, but it's not enough to kill anybody. Enjoy getting another kill on Chris. Sim Breezy getting killed. Ray Dawn's head. Enjoy getting his third kill on Shadow Goober and his fourth on Nikolai. A 4K for Enjoy to close that round out. A flawless for their team as well.
Even in these flawlesses, I still can't help but feel like Indiana is overextending themselves just a little bit further than they need to. I get that we're worried about the Michigan retakes, so we're positioning ourselves a little bit further forward to try and get ahead of some of this util, but some of these positions just look a bit off. Enjoy's out in the middle of nowhere, only barely is able to clear one of the corners that was important for that round. And these players need to be very, very careful about the positions that they find themselves in.
Yeah, it's working right now because I think it's catching Michigan deeply off guard, having all those players positioned out so aggressively, but that novelty only lasts for so long, and they eventually will get punished for it. They play off this late stun really well, though, managing to shut down Enjoy, and they're not done. Chris swinging out to try and get more util spam, going back and forth. They're both able to trade each other out. Chris re-swinging. The stun's going down. It's a bloodbath here in A main. Clove is running down Ray. Ray is just trying to do anything he can to get away from this controller. Knife out, sprinting, at the very least trying to make space for his team here. Not going to be able to convert that ult into a res. And now Druff is left in a 1v3, but he does have full util here. Looks like he's going to play up in the smoke, but does he expect all three? There's no way to. Unfortunately, they see him walk out before he sees them. And they convert that round, giving them a fourth on this side.
Yeah, it's close. Indiana are getting close, but these plays by Michigan, whenever they have this chance to be this sort of tempo ahead, they have just outshined Indiana through and through. That entire last map of Haven, for starters, but scenarios like this trap play that we just saw, where they're playing off of the timing, but also off of Ray. And once Ray spots somebody, you have Chris ready to stun. You've got other util ready to go in. And it's just not something that Indiana seems fully prepared for. They've been able to catch Michigan off guard a couple different times, which is why this game is still Indiana favored. But Michigan just, whenever they look to be on point, they are on point.
You know, I worry about all the repeats we saw in A main there. It was a very, very messy bloodbath that we saw saw going on. I think a lot of that was from just spamming up more util, re-peeking, spamming up more util and re-peeking. As we see the frags that are opening up this round as well. They're unable to hold on to the site. It happens every round we're playing retake here. I'm wondering if there's more that we could be doing to try and get more frags here. Early frag off of spin though. Turning this into a 4v2. Druff still trying to get the bomb down. Finally gets it down. Round onto spamming. Getting opted, turning into a 4v1. Ray's gonna swing. Gets picked out by Druff, but the other two teammates jump and swing off of that still state and are managed to convert that round for their team.
And even if Druff was able to get that first pick, unless it was like a first bullet headshot or something, there was not going to be any way for that to end up falling in his favor. Ray just doing so well, taking out the Cypher and then identifying, hey, we've only seen them over towards B. A has been fully clear. Let me just push through. They have no flank watch anymore. Let me just keep taking the space. And it ends up paying off massively for them.
No, I mean, just really and truly, all of the space control, all of the site control, all of the util spam have been pivotal in guaranteeing these rounds. And you see that breach go into market, that utility, killing Shadow Goober. Ray Undaunted getting spammed out after hitting a trip. Druff able to cement that kill there. And it's a 5v3 so early. Spin getting picked off, and now it's a 5v2. This is going to be a difficult round to win, and it looks like Chris playing back. Nikolai getting a 1 pick in market, getting 2. 2v3. No longer an impossible round for them as long as they play it smart. But it looks like we're seeing a good bit of patience from the side. Michigan here, not wanting to overextend, not wanting to overpeak. Enjoy just waiting, knowing that he's in that corner, throwing the counter stun, and Simbrisi's able to trade there. They're positioning immaculate. Nikolai being able to be seen, tucking into that corner, and just getting spammed through the wall. These rounds are all so close.
Yeah. And again, it keeps seeming like Indiana have these few rounds where they're just able to pull off some sort of magic like that. We saw the flawless earlier, we saw this round where it seems like they were just able to steamroll Michigan, but every other round between them so far, outside of that one string of rounds that Indiana had, has felt like Michigan has never been fully out of it. And once they get onto their attack side, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same style of explosive gameplay, but without the paranoia to stop it on the other end.
Really and truly, we have an op on the map right now. Looks like we're going to be looking to play around. Everyone's, again, just trying to get some space here, but we're getting some faster footsteps, speeding up on A. Looks like we're really attached to playing this retake here, just giving up all of this main space, giving up all this site control, letting them have the site, just not wanting to contest it and then keep trusting the retakes here. We've got 3 already stacked up towards Alley, 1 stacked up towards Link, and we've got Cypher sprinting on over. But they have not committed this bomb plant yet. We've noticed this a couple of times too. Them starting to plant the bomb and then rethinking it, re-guessing their plant location. Overall making it hit just a bit more messy. See the Sova ult commit, the Breach ult commit. Neon is on site, tucked in the back of site. Do they know where Neon even is at this point? Spin pushing out with the Judge, but there's one in main. Judge getting damaged, but not able to get the kill. It's a 3v2. Everything is messy, everything is fast. Druff getting opted, Opted getting Ray. Nikolai getting a pick using the op onto Pit, picking up a gun, getting another, but unfortunately unable to convert that round. These explosive retakes keep happening. Just everybody lurking up and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then all hitting so aggressively, all at the exact same time.
Yeah, but now, as we switch sides onto this attack, I'm very interested to see how Shadow Goober is going to play this Omen differently from the Clove. Obviously, Omen no longer has access to the more unique one-ways that he used to, but he still has the paranoia. And that is a massive element that we saw Michigan take advantage of earlier in this game, and we've seen it get so much value throughout the series so far. Pit not having access to that is going to be very, very massive, and it's something that Michigan could potentially look to exploit.
So we're doing that early market door close, and it's not going to be punished. They're going to get that one off for free as we're playing up towards tiles here. Got a breach stun lined up. They're expecting the peek off of A main here. Looks like they're gonna pivot. Not hearing it yet or seeing the util come out yet. I'm gonna try and get something else, not wanting to waste too much time waiting for those peekers on A main. So we're going to try and push up mid here. Druff shooting out that dart. Having an inkling that somebody might be around, not knowing who or how many, but this explosive hit up mid is going to give some of them away. That blind stopping that hit just a little bit, but they still have that space up in top mid. Nikolai getting a pick off on Enjoy. Druff getting a pick off Nikolai. They're really trying to play to get this site here. This weird pinch is going on. Defenders are in their spawn and are getting picked out. Pit is back in alley trying to stop them, pushing him in main. Crisp getting a pick on Druff. It's a 4v2. 1-1. Shadow Goober already on the flank though. Such an atypical hit for a pistol round, but it works, and they convert it into a win with 4 of their team members still alive. What would you make of that round that we just watched?
I've always been a fan of splitting up through mid on rounds where you wouldn't normally expect it to. Pistol, oddly enough, a round where you might be a little bit more accustomed to that. You have these more short-range weapons on both sides, so you know that those longer angles in mid aren't necessarily going to be as big of an issue. But I thought Indiana did a very good job of, or I thought Michigan did a very good job of playing around that.
No, 100%. I would agree with that. Looks like we're seeing some of that early utility again, some of that stopping power coming out from the breach utility. Breach trying to fall out of elbow there, not wanting to give his life. We've got 3 people stacked to the site. Are they going to be able to defend it? Druff shots not landing, and that Guardian being a very powerful 2 for Shadow Goober. Spin getting 1, Shadow Goober getting the 3rd, and that's all 3 people that were on site. Pit's fast flank not amounting to anything. It's a 5v1. Clean shot from Simbreezy taking out Shadow Goober. He's got 4 more people to take care of, and unfortunately, when they all swing you at the same time, you can't always get them all. Win another round, converting it to a 7-7 half game so far.
As we get tied up, Spin starting to creep up that leaderboard again. He was a little bit quiet earlier in this map, but a lot of that just had to do with Indiana not going towards his preferred site. But now that he's on this attack side, he's got a little bit more free reign. He can do the kinds of lurks that we saw get so much value on Haven, and he's probably going to do them throughout this game. But more importantly, it seems like he's a little bit more activated when it comes to fragging.
You know, Ray is pushing up through market here. We've got 1 Cypher trick cleared, but Ray's going to run face first and the other, tucked behind this wall so he doesn't get spammed out just yet. Simbreezy looking frustrated. He can't get that kill there. Ray trying to get that trip, missing a few shots on the judge till it lands. Opted getting the kill on Crisp. Their stall is just getting halted by too much util. It's getting a little bit shaky here. Nikolai getting the kill at mid though, turning into a 4v4. Simbreezy knowing there's one there, unable to kill the judge. This is such a dangerous gun to be trying to take at close range like that, but Opted's able to take it off the map while Druff gets the enemy Sova. Sova killing Sova, turning this into a 3v2. But the Breach is 1 tap. Breaches only have 1 health left. Any bullet's going to kind of put him under the grave and turn this back into a 2v2. Looks like they're going to try and play slowly to re-clear this space here. They don't have any trips or any info to tell them where people might be until they hear that bomb plant go down. Spin going to try and get the pick off the rotate here. Unable to secure it though, playing very smart. Immediately falling off to try and play. Not wanting to give any more numbers than they already have. Recon Bolt's going to get destroyed there as they spam, trying to get Worth. Getting counter spam back, getting 1. Unable to get the second. It's a 2v1 though. Spin able to get 1. Pit just spamming out Shadow Goober, unable to get that TP off to get safer, tucked into elbow there.
Unfortunately, going 1 for 1 in that type of scenario, just not enough. Phenomenal shot out of Spin, but ultimately couldn't quite close out the round, and Indiana will be able to gain a little bit of that momentum that they lost after that side swap.
You know, looks like Indiana is fighting hard to stay in this fight. I am a bit worried with how close it is, though. You don't really want to be sitting so close when you're 1 map off of ending a series. You want to be having a heavy advantage. I think if they keep playing consistently, though, keep playing off their util like we have seen them in the rounds that they convert, just really playing off of those stuns, really playing off those slides, we'll be able to see some more rounds converted out for them.
It's really important for Indiana to try and stay ahead of this fast pace that Michigan is starting to send, and ultimately, after these first few seconds of the round go, it does look like they were able to for the most part, but not without taking a little bit of extra damage.
Yeah, no, we saw them pick this double initiator comp probably to try and match that pace that they're setting, that more utilitarian, fast-paced hit, the stuns, the shocks, the vision, the util, all of that. But it looks like sometimes they are struggling to capitalize off of it a little bit. And they're going to need to be just a little bit more efficient with the utility that they chose to select on this map if they're going to want to try and make something out of it. Ray getting spotted by the shock. That is going to scan Sim, giving away his position. So he's going to try and push forward with this judge to try and get one, but he does get spammed out by Nikolai. Pit does manage to get the kill, though. And so it's going to be a 4v4 situation here on this bomb retake yet again. Nikolai spamming out Opted, Nikolai spamming out Enjoy. Spin getting Druff, and now it's a 4v1. Pit is just getting spammed from the back of site. They know exactly where Pit is. Nobody's over peeking, but they are containing, not letting this round slip away from them. Spin peeking to try and get the kill there. Unable to convert it, and Pit just runs. They need to save this gun. They want to save this gun, and they are fleeing for it.
And again, it goes back to the same bit of cohesion. Michigan looked very, very unified when that hit came in. Everybody seemed to know exactly what they wanted to do. But on the defensive side, while the macro was fine, it seemed like Indiana just didn't quite know how to interpret the situation that they found themselves in. And because of that, they lost players left and right, and just weren't able to figure out how to muster up a strong enough retake going back into it.
No, 100%. It looks like we're seeing a bit of stronger util coming from Michigan now as they start to somewhat find that rhythm, knowing how to hit off of their util a little bit cleaner here. And it's allowing them to pull back some of these rounds, but they're going to have to be extremely consistent with it from here on out. They're going to want to convert an 8-8 game state into a win. Both teams have a lot to lose here, but Enjoy's going to be tucked up A with a Bucky, which is nerve-wracking when we do see them posturing considering this hit. Looks like they're waiting to see if anybody's going to swing out aggressively because they know that Ray Undaunted loves to take up space and not always clear every corner he walks by, but looks like they know better. They know that something is off. They usually swing this. They usually try and do a double swing out A main. It's weird that they're all playing back, and they're going to take that as a sign that they should not be committing this hit. Try and posture a bit more towards mid, see if they can get any info or space from doing that. Breach stun goes out there, is going to hit some, but it's not going to get any worth just yet. Looks like Ray is trying to take the space up top mid, Pit holding deep, waiting for the peak. It doesn't come, though, as they start to try and aggressively push in a market, throwing that neon stun and wall out so they can cross out on a site. Simbreezy's just going to sit tucked, but he's going to have to shoot that dart, and it's going to give away his location. Not before he gets Nikolai, though, the person who shot the dart. Ray able to trade that out, though, very quickly, turning into a 4v4. Ray's pushed up here. His knives are out, unfortunately, and that smoke drops, revealing his location and getting him killed. Pit pinging the gun, trying to see if he can help out his teammates, figuring out what's on the floor and what they might have, what they don't have. Enjoy's going to run this out with a Bucky, though, throwing the stun out in the main. It doesn't find anybody, though, but the smoke goes down. Crisp gets 2, tucked in his spot. Pit gets 1, killing out Crisp. It's a 2v2 now. They're on the bomb, and it looks like they're just going to stick it. There they go. They spam together, managing to take down the diffuser. 2v1. And they push out of the smoke there. Very clean. When for a moment, it was looking a bit shaky coming from the side of Michigan.
Oddly enough, in most post plants like that we see, it's the attackers that are smoking themselves off the bomb, not the other way around. So when Pit smokes off that B main choke point, we get these avenues of attack for the Michigan players for the spam line that otherwise wouldn't be opened up. And it's just these small individual mistakes that Indiana are making that are just costing them these ways of getting back into some of the rounds that they're playing.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised just with that mistake, too, because, yeah, smoking yourself off helps a lot because it allows whoever is helping try and hold you, they're going to have to swing into that person, and they know exactly where they are. It lets them hold that line, but smoking off main lets them play wherever they want to in that smoke, around that smoke, and like you said, they did that, like, crouch high-low spam in order to make sure that they got the diffuser, And then when it was a 1v2, they've just high-low swung out of the smoke, one person crouching down, one person fast swinging, and they both spammed right onto the person's head. And that is unfortunately a very hard situation to come across. If you're going to smoke, you need to smoke yourself off there and keep that sight line open for your teammate. As we launch back into the round here, post timeout.
With Indiana very firmly on the back foot now. The rounds that
Definitely
they've won
seeing some
haven't been
push and
great for their
pull.
economy.
Yeah, they always seem to lose a lot of team members when they win a round, usually only making it out with 1, 2, maybe 3 people. It's not been a lot of help with converting a lot of economy to them. Looks like they're doing a delayed cam here as everyone spams the window cam. That breach stun is going to push them back a little bit. He's going to swing aggressively just to get the cam out there. We see that Sova ulti go down. We see the dart hang a bunch of people. We see the ulti hit some, but unable to kill anybody just yet. Opted swinging off of it, though, to make sure they get the first pick off of Nikolai. Someone's going to shoot that dart top mid. Not the dart, but the trip. Giving away his position that he's pushed up there, but they've got a good cross here. They know that he hasn't actually made his way top mid. He's pinging, letting his team know that he saw somebody, that they've tucked back into that kind of A-link spot. As his team looks like they're going to try and potentially either do an aggressive hit up mid or in a market here. Waiting for maybe somebody to swing, and Enjoy does. They spam him a bit, but Ray manages to get up without getting killed. His health is at 70, but it's not from that, it's from the ulti. But does he expect Simbrizi up here? He doesn't. All of the shots don't connect at first. He manages to convert them. Gets a second before getting traded out by Spin. It's a 3v2 for his team now. Now it's a 3v1. He just knife out there, just trying to get away from the fight, but the timing just was not in his favor. Now Cypher is going to have to play this 1v3. And this breach util is going to push him out, and although he gets the one, we have Enjoy crouching, just peeking over that box, waiting for the swing out. Getting them another round. It's 9-9 now.
And it's good to see Enjoy start to show up. We saw him be a little bit quiet on that attack half, playing a very dive-heavy role. But now on this defensive half, they've been moving Enjoy around a whole bunch. We saw him play off the trap plays. We've seen him play at mid. We haven't seen him op yet. That's something that we've only seen out of Ray so far, but that could also be a bit of a possibility. And he's got his ultimate. There's a lot of maneuverability that this Neon can have in this round that Michigan are going to have to keep an eye out for.
So we're seeing some early aggression of B main, shocking close to try and get the trips, but not knowing they're both positioned for market here. Simbrizi managing to spam and get Ray as he tries to push up fast on the site. Pit with the judge up close, jumping, just jump swinging this corner and spamming into the smoke, trying to get more. And it's a 4v2 already, a bloodbath in A main, and a clean shot of Simbrizi is going to take Shadow Goober out. Spin tucking back, not wanting to get seen by this drone. However, Pit's knifes out, but Spin doesn't connect those shots. He's going to have to try and wait here, see if he can get the pick. He's waiting for the push and is unable to guess which side Pit's going to come from in time. Unfortunately, getting jumping swung by the judge.
And that gives Indiana ways to upgrade, and it gives them a little bit of momentum going back into this round. After that timeout, they've had these 2 rounds back-to-back that have looked very, very convincing. We have had the defuse, we've had the... we've just had straight up had 2 rounds where they haven't been able to get the bomb plant down at all. And because of that, Michigan are going to take this time. They're going to try and figure out what's going on, what changed. And it seems like they're trying to figure out how to play their own style of proactive gameplay that served them so well on these on the rounds that they've been winning, as well as this first map of Haven.
Yeah, we've seen Michigan hit with a lot of aggression, especially Ray Undaunted. I mean, if you're going to play Neon, it's really like the only thing you can do. You throw your stuns out, you throw your dash, you slide, you try and get that first shot accuracy off when you hit that slide while you're such a faster moving target. But Indiana's been doing a very good job at playing like counter utility there, like slowing the Neon down, especially with those breach stuns, waiting for the second that they hear those electrified footsteps kick up before throwing that out. They've been patient with holding that util, and they've been patient with using it, and they're going to have to find a more creative way to play around it if they're wanting to get worth.
Yeah, and that power of that Neon and that breach works the other way. Once you have that Neon in a compromised situation where the breach isn't able to support them, your opponent's Neon and breach are very, very good at punishing that with the stuns of their own.
It truly is whoever just makes the mistake first is going to be inevitably deeply punished for it, and all we can do is play the waiting game and see who that ends up being. Looks like we're seeing some push up from mid here, though, peeking the smoke, waiting to see if anyone's going to swing out of it, but we're playing very slow, we're playing very patient. We're just going to drone out Sova drone here, spot one, hearing a second set of shots, but not seeing anybody else.
Check out, this is an adaptation. Look how far back the tripwire is placed on that B site for Cypher versus how far up that neon was before they flooded over. Michigan are getting read like a book, but they're still able to fight their way out of it to an extent before Enjoy just shuts them down so hard. The Omen does have the ult, so Shadow Goober can pick this up, but with Enjoy finding a third on the round, Shadow Goober left in this 1v3, or 1v4 rather, and it's going to be hard pressed to find any sort of value for actually expending this ult to pick up the bomb.
I don't always know how I felt about this hyper passiveness that we've been seeing. We saw people like where Sova is right now. We've been seeing people there all game, like playing super deep, playing tucked towards spawn, peeking off the links towards mid, just waiting for somebody to cross. But we saw how much worth that gets. Druff shooting at his teammate just to give him a little bit of a fright there. Enjoy swinging out, trying to convert. Shadow Goober now in a 2v1, although he's 1 health, but looks like they're really just trying to secure that kill, not let him take anything into the next round. Pit swinging, bringing it to 11-9 for his team.
That's the timeout for Michigan, not finding much value at all.
No, that hyper passiveness on defense only does it's been helpful in knowing that there's going to be that hyper aggression coming from the offense. They play these super deep angles, and on one hand, I don't know if giving up all that space is fine, but when you have somebody like Ray Undaunted who's just going to keep pushing, he's going to take all the space you give him, lets you kind of set a trap for these players with like deep cypher trips, all of that. It looks like they are just anticipating that they're going to get run into and just letting it happen, trying to punish them off of it.
And it's an interesting change of pace mix-up, because we used to be, or we were used to seeing Indiana push out aggressively, going for moments like this one with Enjoy, capitalizing off the breach stun, having the breach util to play behind him. But since then, they've been just cutting noise. They've been playing these deeper angles. They haven't given up anything crazy that Michigan have been able to take advantage of, and they're forcing Michigan to try and get ahead of whatever Indiana's going to do, and then punishing it themselves.
You know, it looks like they've been playing just like a good mixed style defense. Like one person, like A side defense will swing out super aggressively and be playing for these early picks. And then B side defense plays super passively, just like that. And we're able to just whittle number by number by number down until yet again, Shadow Goober is the last alive, a Vandal in his hands. He's going to shift walk up alley here, see if he can't convert anything. However, he doesn't know that somebody's right behind him. Druff managing to land that kill on Shadow Goober with his teammate playing as a distraction on site. It's been interesting. They've been really controlling the tempo shifts and changes the Indiana has. Like I said, we had that super early aggressive peak on A off Enjoy, but that made them feel like B must be somewhat free then, because nobody was poking out, nobody was peeking them, but everybody was just waiting, tucked in corners till they felt like the site was safe before hitting that swing, and they were able to capitalize a lot of kills off of it.
We're also going to be seeing Pitt pick up an operator here. I feel like an Outlaw could have been the better play, but regardless, that's another change of pace for Indiana that plays into this holding the long angles playstyle that they've been adopting for the back half of the second half.
Looks like they're going to play super aggressively off of Breach ulti here. They're going to counter Breach ulti, try to see what they can get off of it. Unable to find a kill just yet. Spin finally able to find the first, getting opted out of the game. Enjoy tucked up here though. No progress has been made on hitting the site with all of that util that just got dumped. We still see Nikolai and his teammates pushed up in main. They're taking orb, trying to maybe come up with a new game plan. As we've got 3 people sitting on Ace. Got that Cypher ulti coming back just to let them know where people are stacked. And they're going to see the 2 stacked elbow and the 1 stacked link, and they are going to call off that hit. We do have Cypher that's already over here though, but I think he's going to wait to just play with his team. Looks like they're going to try and maybe swing early, get the diffuser out, get the planner out, and they're unable to catch him. The team able to just play for spam and mid. Spin trying to get a timing here. He has one. Shadow Cooper going to kill him Pit, but Pit is ulting. Spin's going to have to keep walking knife out to get Worth off this flank. This beautiful timing he's got. And he does get one. He sees the second. He knows where the last is. Stuck on front sight there. He saw them. Enjoy just trying to get any kind of Worth, knowing that he's probably going to get spammed out, knowing that he's probably going to get peeked. He has to shoot that dart. He gets 2 clean shots, giving a 3K to Enjoy. And the last 2 are hurt, but it's just not enough, unfortunately. Bringing
Maybe
them
1 or 2 more bullets, and that might have been possible, but Enjoy just not quite able to close it out. And Michigan managed to keep themselves alive in this round. They managed to get gun upgrades on a couple of their players, but they do need to close it out. Importantly, though, they did draw out the Breach ultimate for the side of Indiana. And that is a huge piece of utility to take away from them. Because you've been struggling with these retakes all game, and now one of the best retaking tools that Indiana has available to them is just not going to be on the table.
Dumping out both Breach ultis there to try and save a life isn't necessarily the ideal situation for either team, but managing to get these 2 teams aren't in the exact same position. Them losing their Breach ulti to get the other teams is just kind of an advantage with the game state that they're in right now. If they're struggling on retakes, then you're not going to want to try and retake, like you said, into a Breach ulti. So even though you've lost yours for a push, it stalled that round out enough for you. Almost have some really deep Worth. And it looks like we see Clove sitting deep in spawn right now. Maybe just waiting.
No rotating allowed for the side of Michigan.
Yeah, they're just waiting for sound here.
The combination of the stun and the aftershock going to take out another player. And with Shadow Goober on low HP, this looks like it could be the end of map 2.
The amount of control that Indiana currently has on the A bomb site. The only thing that's open right now is Alley, but Cypher is going to even cover that. Got 1 on site, 2 Link, and Clove is waiting if they somehow try and leave. But we've got the Neon ulti coming out. And yeah, very explosive retake like we've been talking about and like we've been seeing. And Indiana does take that map, keeping them in the fight.
And we hope you weren't planning on being anywhere right now, because we do have a map 3. Ascent is calling for us, and we will be going there. Meanwhile, on the other stream, which we do have, the action is still going strong as well. Michigan State, as you can see, currently up 1-0 over Rutgers on the other side of our bracket. But going back to the action here, map 3, they did it. Indiana were able to control the pace of the game so much better this map compared to that first map of Haven. And now Ascent is their reward. We will be getting a 3rd map in this series, and Indiana have all of the momentum that they need going into it.
Yeah, I do have a bit of worry. 10-13 is a pretty close game to play when you're wanting to kind of have a bit more of an advantage there. However, looking at these like score lines, these stat lines, they're a lot more evenly distributed. It's a lot less of just like a team 1, team 2 being either on the top or the bottom of the scoreboard. That's a lot more what you're hoping to see, is seeing a lot more higher place dispersal in terms of your fragging and your combat score. That is going to be a really interesting map to watch, especially as a map that is going to be leaving the rotation in a little while here, which I believe it might be the first time that Ascent has ever left the rotation since being added to Valorant, which is crazy because that is a long time to be in the map pool with no changes. But it's going to be interesting to see it in competitive play here before it leaves the map pool entirely. We know Jet's really strong on this map, and yet again, this is another one of Breach's really strong maps. It's a really strong map for Sova. A lot of the agents that we've been seeing getting a lot of Worth today have a lot to do on Ascent, so I'm wondering if we're going to see them again.
Yeah, that does actually bring up a couple of interesting questions, though. When I think of Ascent, I don't normally associate it with Breach, but we did see Enjoy getting a lot of value off of the Breach, and it's not insane to think that they might try and keep a similar style of comp. But Enjoy was on Jet for map 1, and Ascent is famously a paradise for Jet. So who knows how that's going to play out. We might be seeing Enjoy go back to the Jet. We might be seeing a completely different look. Who knows? But we do have a little bit of a break before we can go there. Our teams need a little bit of time to cool down, and we are right there with them. It has been a whole bunch of nonstop actions, so let's go ahead and give us a little bit of a break to catch up, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes.
And welcome back from our little 5-minute break there. We hope you had got some water, got a snack, took a little bit of a moment to chill. While we welcome you back in here, we thought we would go over our bracket for the BEC East, kind of see what we've played, see what we've got left to come, and see how Michigan State is faring against Rutgers at current.
Yeah, Michigan State, they were able to take map 1, then had a rough start on map 2, unfortunately. Down 6-1 against Rutgers. And then they came back. As of last update, they are now up 9-7, despite starting 5 rounds down at the start of the game. So
It's always
State,
possible to make a comeback. We've seen pro teams do it. Whole like meme with Fnatic coming back after only having like 3 rounds on the half or 2 rounds. It's always possible. The game is never lost till it's over. Always got to kind of keep that mentality. Hopefully they're having just as an interesting time as us. It's got to be interesting watching what seems to be our number 1 seed against our number 5 seed for the bracket, especially if we're putting on a very aggressive performance coming from Rutgers' side there.
Yeah, and I believe that action is going down on one of our other streams, being produced by the guys over at MSU. So if you don't mind a little bit of a home field advantage on the casting, then go ahead and tune into that one. But meanwhile, our action takes us back here, going into Ascent for map 3 between Michigan and why am I blanking on this? We just casted them.
Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah. No, it happens. Always happens. Happens to me. I think it happens every time I have to do a presentation.
I'll blame it on there being too many I names in the Big Ten at this point.
I agree. We have Iowa, we have Indiana, and that's too many as is. But as we get back into this here, I'm wondering what it's going to take for both of these teams, what they're going to really need to focus on to win. We've been seeing a lot of those hyper-aggressive plays, and we've been seeing a lot of those hyper-aggressive plays getting shut down by really strong util, which I assume is going to be a similar story on Ascent. It's a pretty like straight across the board map. You've got a wide mid, you've got one main lane to hit each site. Got to get past those choke points or either push up mid and try and take market space or push in a spawn here as we go into our agent select.
Yeah, already a couple of curveballs. We mentioned before the break that we were curious as to whether or not Opted would stay on this initiator role or go back to the jet that they were playing on map 1. It's the initiator. Enjoy, who played Yoru on Haven and let Opted take the jet, is moving over to the jet himself. Opted taking KO. Meanwhile, on the other side, nothing special. This is about what we'd expect. Everybody staying on relatively similar roles, or they're really just the analogs for Ascent, swapping out the Breach for a KO, swapping out the Cypher for a Killjoy, and we're just getting two very, very evenly matched comps, with the only difference being Zimbrizi running the Cypher instead of the Killjoy.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting, especially watching Spin. Even though they're still on Senti, we're going to get to see Spin's KJ instead of their Cypher. Both, in my opinion, probably the 2 strongest Sentinels that you have on right now. Both of those guys can be played basically on any map across the board. Some maps leaning more towards one than others, but both a pretty solid pick for the majority of the maps. And Cypher and KJ both have spots to play here. You've got KJ usually takes a lane on one map and just kind of turns it into like a meat grinder, putting alarm bot, putting nanos for any push that they try and make on the site and really punishing that. You've got Cypher who can just put trips, the entries of sites, some that are hard to break unless you run into them, or have your Sova util, or have your Raze nade, which we're not going to see any, but we do have shocks to try and take those trips out here as we open up the map. It's like we're going for some of that early mid pressure that you were talking about, kind of trying to do those hits when they're not totally expecting it. Enjoy swinging out of pizza, getting one, getting tagged up, almost making it out with their life, but unable to. Shadow trading them out. Enjoy did also, though, manage to tag up their KO. KO sitting at half health as they pivot back through tiles, heading more towards the B bomb site here. Cypher and Sova are both waiting for them here, playing a very, very, very hard defense. Having Sova's util and Cypher's trips is going to make it really hard to do any kind of damage on this site, which I think they're kind of having a feeling might be the case. So they are just running it all the way back towards spawn.
Are they going to clear this corner here? Are they going to learn and clear out pit? They are. Good clear, managing to not lose another teammate, keeping a man advantage now. Looks like KO's going to go for a pick, getting the one taking orb. Clean shots from Opted before falling back, letting his team help him out. And they're going to try and trade him out, but Druff has already dropped out of heaven, ready to help trade him out there. They are playing effortlessly on site, playing off of one another, turning this into a 3v1 situation for Shadow Goober that he is unable to convert. A nice three-piece from Opted. I loved how he used his util. I loved how he peeked and didn't re-peek, just repositioning himself, playing with his Sova. Very, very clean round, in my opinion.
Yeah, Opted picking up right where he left off from that last map, where he was a star performer. We saw him doing phenomenally on map 1 as well, but on a completely different role now. Starting out with such a strong pistol is a really, really good sign for Indiana.
And we're definitely seeing why Opted could handle being on that initiator. That team play there was very well executed, where a duelist would usually try and re-peek that with a jet dash prime, trying to get a pick there by maybe making a one-way with a cloudburst. He let himself fall back. He let himself play with his Sova, and I feel like they got a lot more worth with that than maybe they even did when he played Jet and got so many frags. We're already seeing the heavy machinery being used as classically by Sova on the B bomb site, spraying in here towards Orb, throwing a shock dart up through window, getting spin down to 52 HP without even seeing him yet. Enjoy lurking up here, managing to get the one peeking out tiles, but is he expecting Chris to be tucked in that corner there? Just waiting patiently, feeling like he's going to get re-peek from tiles. And spin is there, but he doesn't get the timing, falls back off. Trying to play more safe than be too over-aggressive, and it manages to get him the kill that tucked back there. And it manages to also get him the kill on spin. Enjoy is showing all of this promise on this. Man, take this space and get those kills. They're really holding this mid space, not wanting to give them any room, having the bomb down here. As we see one lurking up A, which they could get a timing. The entirety of the team has decided to all rotate into mid and play, which leaves tree open. The door is shut. Shadow Goober would have to take the long way, going all the way up through heaven. He doesn't necessarily be making this play. If he could cut through tree, that would have been safe, but they closed the door with the expectation that that would happen. Enjoy getting the fourth. Shadow Goober rotating through spawn. He's going to get met by this Cypher, though, and Simbreezy is going to shut him down. A flawless second round to take them into Ascent here. I think that they're playing a lot cleaner than they have been, and Enjoy is popping off already, getting the third round operator to try and keep shutting the enemy team down. They don't want Michigan to have any breathing room.
And that also keeps the Vandal in play that we saw in the last round from Enjoy. But right now, it's very easy to see how Ascent is playing much more into Indiana's preferred playstyle. We saw in Sunset that they were playing their defense a lot further back, letting Michigan walk into their traps and just countering them with perfect precision. That's exactly what we're seeing here just within these first two rounds. They're not getting over aggressive. They're showing just enough early on to bait Michigan into pushing forward, and then they're just springing the counterattack perfectly.
Looks like we're seeing Michigan try and take some space up here in tree. Omen holding down bottom mid, throwing down some smokes, trying to help them. That Omen blind is really good for delaying this push, though, but not if it misses the enemy team. They're able to quickly trade him out as he tries to get one, maybe not having expected all of those people to be there. Opted waiting here, clearing the blind. Good positioning from him, making sure to tuck just in front of it. Good flash from his swing back in, gets his second, does get cleared out by Ray Undaunted, but it puts his team in an even 3v3 situation. Overall, returning it to a neutral numbers advantage. Using the Sova drone to try and clear something out. Try to find people. They see one main. Nikolai gets cleared out. Nikolai clears out Simbreezy when Simbreezy gets his first pick. One jumping out of heaven to try and get a shot here, and they just shut Druff and Enjoy down. Managing to convert that third round and pick the op back up off the ground.
I'm very curious as to why we saw Enjoy go for that op, or try and push forward with that op there. Historically, when we've seen that round 3 op out of teams like 100 Thieves at the pro level, it's usually one where you're sacrificing a little bit of the guarantee of the bonus for the chance of winning it. By bringing that op in, you're saying, okay, we want to have this op in the next round, so if it gets a pick, great. If not, then we're going to hold on to it a little bit longer. But here, with Enjoy rushing out with the op, in the midst of a 2v2 retake that didn't look super feasible anyways, they're not going to have that op for a good bit. And with the buyback into a Vandal, I believe, that means that that op is going to be even less likely in the near future.
Yeah, it looks like Ray Undaunted too is going to try and punish. Using this attacker-sided op, always risky when you're the one that has to push on a site, but if you can get them to peek you first, then it can get a lot of worth here. I don't know if it will against Indiana, though. They've been playing very patiently, waiting for these slight overextensions and then swinging. Like we see Pitt tucked here. Pitt loves playing these corners. We've seen Pitt playing these corners since game 1. Playing with shotguns, and unfortunately that's 2 dead in tree, giving them the numbers advantage from that repeak. Sova's on 1 health though, but Ray is clearing the space confidently, switching out to get a Vandal, knowing that he can't really be pushing with that operator here. Smartly picking up the rifle to try and shut this down. Simbreezy getting 1 off site, trying to live, drops his cage, drops both cages, trying to play with the space here, trying to get a frag off the trip, and it's unfortunately not possible for him. It's a 1v3, but 2 of them are very, very low. A stray bullet could help him win this round here. They don't expect him to already be pushed up all the way, but does he know that one's not on site yet? Shadow Goober running, knives out. Druff unsure where everybody might be right now. Caught with his bow out, but Shadow Goober's shots don't land. It's a 1v1. Both people are very, very low health. And he lands the shot! A 3K for Druff and a super clean swing, managing to convert that round for his team and get them to 3.
That is a bonkers shot out of Druff there. Wow.
By all means, I thought he was supposed to die. He had 2 health,
Yeah.
and they had Peeker's advantage, and I thought he was dead.
Yeah, Ray had every conceivable advantage, and then Druff just says, "No, my crosshair is now suddenly on the head. It's over." But even still, that doesn't put Illinois, or not Illinois, sorry. It doesn't put Illinois anywhere. It doesn't put Indiana on the greatest economy. They are still going to have to rely on the knives. If they can take this one, the economy does get balanced out a little bit more, but this has very, very scary potential for Indiana.
I will say, we have noticed some of that sloppiness kind of biting them in the butt, too. Like, Druff almost lost that round because of that timing. He heard the Omen fast running up, but tried to get the bow out. Wasn't aware that he had already pushed up that quickly. It almost cost him his life, and it would have cost him the round. Spin getting a pick and tree here. Enjoy managing to trade it out, however, with the knives. Pushing out here, trying to get a little more info, get a little more space. Wanted to see if they were leaving yet. Had already started scaling up mid. He saw none, knowing that they're probably still then sitting in A main unless they had pushed back through spawn, which we've got Cypher playing deep to try and cover that angle. Looks like we're just going to try and play for a silent re-hit here, though. Crisp with the judge. Maybe hoping that somebody is going to push out A main, but Indiana is not keen to give any of that space or make any plays like that.
And they're fully comfortable giving up that B site because of that Cypher util. It's placed so far up in B that Indiana has, they know exactly where this hit is going. And Enjoy's there to punish it perfectly. Druff following up with 1, and Crisp has no shot. Enjoy with a 3K on the round, balancing the money, getting a 4th round, and crushing Michigan even further.
We have noticed and seen highly valued and highly worth trigger discipline, I would say, throughout this series coming from both of these teams. Situations like that where Enjoy had just the perfect spot to where the second that 2 or 3 pushed on his site, getting that 2K with the knives and then securing the 3rd with the Vandal that he picks up off the ground. Although they had won the last round, their economy was still a little dire. It still wasn't what it needed to be, but playing patient like that, having better positioning than just the enemy team did, having that Cypher utility, like you said, to control all that space, having Cypher kind of near mid cubby so they have it in case they rotate out, making sure they really shoehole all these angles so they know exactly where they are, lets them play a lot more confidently there.
Yeah. And that's another point I'd like to bring up. I was thinking about this as we were loading in off of Agent Select. Michigan isn't playing a Cypher. That means Spin is on the Killjoy. And one of the things that we were raving about for Spin earlier was just how individual he could play. He could be anywhere on the map, taking any timing, getting any amount of input he wants. But with the Killjoy, his role is so much more firm. He has to play around his util a little bit more. and he's a lot more limited on this attack side. And it's something that I think Michigan isn't quite able to take advantage of, like how they would if he was on Cypher.
No, that is like the big debate with the. Looks like Druff is just getting some spam in there, but the really big debate between the Cypher versus the Killjoy is the fact that Cypher does have true universal map utility and Killjoy just doesn't. You do to some extent have to be in range, and the util that you do have is a bit different than what you can expect to see off a Cypher. Enjoy, though, getting an early pick on Nikolai here. They hear the steps coming from Market, though. They know they're being pinched in. They try and fall back a little bit to not give up all of this space, but make them a little bit safer. Ray getting a little bit spammed out. Although they had all of the space to begin with, the repositioning done by Indiana is getting them so much control. Shadow Goober swinging to kill Opted, but Enjoy ready for that trade. Just playing this clinically. Ray is pushing up fast through tree, trying to find anybody, get a kill here, but he doesn't clear his left corner close enough and gets picked off. And although Spin manages to frag out there, get one kill, Pit is able and ready to trade it. Their positioning is just allowing for so much worth here.
Yep. And going into this next round, it seems like Indiana has all of the momentum that they need. Unfortunately, that momentum is going to get halted by a tech pause here, which is unfortunate, but it does happen sometimes. But it's something that, well, tech pauses are obviously something that every team is going to have to deal with, but another thing that I find very interesting about what Indiana is throwing up is just how fluid their defense side looks. One of the biggest things about Ascent is you have a very, let's say, like, set idea of what you're approaching on defense, or like how you're approaching the defensive side of the map. And you can, well, you can't see it now on the map, but you can kind of get a sense of how the map's going to look. You've got your Sentinel and your Sova on B, you've got your KO and your Omen on A, and then your Jet floats around a lot. But within that role, they've shown so many different looks without having to move too many of the different pieces around. And it's just presented this very ambiguous look that Michigan is having such a hard time dealing with.
Also, just a quick update for those who are curious how the other BEC game is going. Michigan State did win map 2, 13-9. Whoever wins this map on map 3 will be who they play against next. And whoever loses this map will play Rutgers as well in the losers bracket. So nobody's done quite yet.
Yep.
And we're going to have to play through this map 3 with all these different things to consider. Trying to see what we're going to do here. Looks like we're going for this hit up tree again, really trying to get that mid space. Enjoy just barely missing Omen peeking out there because he hears one coming tree, manages to get the frag. A lot of people are coming for him here. They're going to have to play this smart, play it together. Pit managing to get the pick on Crisp. It's already a 5v3. Their hits just aren't as cohesive and their players are not as stacked as evenly. It's presenting a large issue for them. Pit getting one frag, not able to get the second. Spin trying to get out of there as he gets shoved by Opted. Opted peeks out before the flash even goes off, but it doesn't matter. It's a 4v1. These hits are so cohesive and how they just choke them out. Like at every angle they have two people. It's always a 2v1.
I would say, I do think that oh, well, never mind. I was about to say, I think they slightly misread where the Omen was coming from, but I don't actually know if they did. I think that might have been just a play to give Druff his ult.
I think it was a play to give Druff his ult, and I think that Omen might have fake TP'd there too, so they were just holding both sides of the cross. But it's truly incredible the way that they're playing. It is making sure that you always have somebody to trade. It's making sure you always have util off your swings. They're playing so well as a cohesive unit that it doesn't matter if Michigan has these individual fraggers because they'll just get shut down.
The KO ult's not going to work. The Cypher's on the other side of the map. The util's still up.
Cypher just stays out. These trips will still stop him, but it doesn't even matter. Enjoy and Opter pulling up a defense here. It's a 3v2.5 if you count the KO ulti and body still being up. Enjoy managing to get out with a good updraft and cloudburst, but Spin getting the kill on Simbreezy. Hit TP and getting a good angle as they're trying to res the KO, and now it's a 2v1. And the one has 18 health, and Enjoy getting that third frag, continuing to pump the brakes on Michigan. You dump the ultis, you dump the util, and it doesn't matter because Cypher's on the other side of the map, and you have this hyper-aggressive defense from Enjoy and Opted, just swinging out from each other, getting the op pick, getting the shorty pick, spraying with Vandal. It is oppressive.
That's one of those things where there's not an easy answer for Michigan here. At this point, you've tried going into your playbook a few different ways, and Indiana has just figured out how to shut it down each and every time. And here it looks like it's going to be more of the same. They're going back again, going fast, but the Cypher util is still there. They have ways of shutting things down, and the Sova ult's just going to finish off another one. They're disadvantaged before they can even get out of the smoke.
They're not finding worth with this hyper aggression. Having to play around the Cypher and the op is making it impossible to have worth. But playing slow isn't working either. It's exactly like you said. There's no easy answer besides that. Getting a timing. Good at timing from Spin, at least taking the operator out of the round. Opted unable to trade it from his positioning deep in spawn. Spin, I think, saw or at least heard the KO, though, from how he's looking. KO knifing out there to try and get some info, now knowing that they've cleared out. Druff's still just spamming it into B main, trying to stall any kind of hit there, not wanting anybody to push that site, trying to force them to pick to go somewhere, or at least get some chip damage off, because Jet is half health here. It's a 3v4, which isn't impossible, but when your duelist is 1 from dead, it's not easy. Got Omen in a...
Michigan will have a 2 lead. X, depending on the site, but it's just going to turn that into a 2v2. He does manage to find pick, but even still, Indiana has the man advantage.
Indiana has the man advantage, and beyond that, the health. Opted, unfortunately, getting full bind, I think, by his own flash there. Stalling that hit a little. Looks like we're trying to play just dice here, play tucked. Nikolai getting 2 there. It's up to 1. It's a 1v1 situation. Nikolai has to convert this to get the round. He's got his dart to play with. That'll pull the bullets, give him some vision of where they are. That spam gets him down to half. He has to keep playing time is what he's going for here. Pulling out the classic. He's got 2 bullets left in the Guardian. He's really trying to play around him here. He's play with the time, and it works. Good play from Nikolai. Putting Michigan back on the board, getting them their 2nd round. Dancing around Dice there, pulling out the classic, just really forcing him to stay off of the bomb, getting them that round.
Insane shots out of Nikolai. The pixel angle working wonders on the way out of door. It's not much to go off of for Michigan, but it is a round, and it's a round that they desperately needed. The Sova ult not going to be up on Indiana's side either for this killjoy, and Spin busting out the Odin for the reverse spam onto Druff. Not perfectly,
all I can say,
no bites.
Yeah, Druff tucks when that dart goes down. Druff starts spamming, and Spin wins. Spin's crosshair at head level, taking Druff out, finally punishing him for just sitting there and spamming down B main. You know, all it takes to win games are rounds, so 1 more in Michigan's pocket helps them get that much closer. Pitt playing this off angle, though, and Opted getting a pick here. They do clear out Wine, but not before losing one of their own, bringing it a 3v3. Shadow Goober not too hurt from that exchange. The shot's not landing quite as close as Indiana would hope. But it's still some damage. Opted missing his shots. But it doesn't matter because Enjoy's there to trade them out with knives as long as he doesn't get killed by Swarm Grenade. 15 health and an operator. They've got Sim Breezy on the fast rotate trying to provide him with some backup here.
Still incredibly doable. Only problem is they know that he hadn't crossed yet.
Nice! They play off the timing there. They hear the bomb start to plant. And Enjoy just trusts his Cypher to spam that door down, holding the operator at Jenny, securing that round for them, bringing it to 8-2 in their favor.
And in some ways, that one hero round that Nikolai won is coming back to haunt them. Their money is not great. Their loss bonus got entirely reset, and only Nikolai can buy, and he's just going to have to eco with the rest of the team. Okay, he will get at least something, but not buying all the way up. And Michigan just haven't found a way to use either of these 2 big impact ults. The Lockdown and the Hunter's Fury, neither have been used yet.
No, it looks like we're seeing some presence towards B main, but again, that very quick fall off that we've been seeing typically come from them. Not wanting to full commit and get sprayed out. Got Nikolai droning up mid, trying to get some early vision, but Indiana's doing what Indiana does. They're not over peeking, they're playing tuck, they're playing deep. They are not giving away more info than they need to. They don't want Michigan to know where they're holding from and where they aren't. They want to give them like this false sense of confidence to push into things. Hit playing in wine again. More aggressive angle, but getting flashed off of it. That KO Molly is going to come out to clear him, and yep, that spam is ready for him. Playing the same spot twice in a row is a risky maneuver. Enjoy over here to back opted up with the op. We've seen these two play really well together. And just knowing they're both here is enough to get Michigan to at least temporarily fall off A. Got the Omen ulti going towards B boathouse here, trying to pull turn. But we've already got 3 people here to clear him out. And there it goes. He is down. And Michigan is probably feeling a lot more lost. Yeah, they're just doubling back. All that presence, all that fighting pressure, they know they can't test with it right now. Spin breaks that trip, trying to get one on the crossover, but unfortunately the trip being there is enough to stop that from happening. Ray clears out opted in tree, making it into a 3v3, but they've got to get the bomb down soon. Simbrizi gets a pick on Spin. Enjoy gets a pick on Crisp. It's a 3v1. They know where he is based on that dash. Great jump peek dashes from Enjoy. He keeps doing it in a way where it's just to gain vision for his teammates, but it allows these easy swings from other directions, these easy frags for them to get. So the round is theirs to win at that point.
As much as I hate to compare players, especially on the same team, you can just tell that Enjoy feels so much more suited to this aggro jet role than Opted was. Opted tended to play a little bit more passive on Haven, taking these longer sight lines, playing around with the op. Enjoy is just getting right up in people's faces. 25-2. It's absurd. He's doing exactly what you want your jet to do on defense. He's not being selfish. His playstyle is playing very well with the rest of the team. But when you need him to, he's proven that he can be the star player for the side of Indiana.
Yeah, I think the big difference too is just how much more worth that Opted is finding from having supportive util. Because it's not necessarily that he can't shoot. Like when he played Jet, he got a ton of frags. He did well,
he's gonna get caught off here. No, he just slips the timing. But he does not know that behind him is not safe. Nikolai's got this kill for free.
Oh, that is so unfortunate, that timing. This is what happens when you just kind of leave people to give space. I was gonna say, I suppose
I
highly
think it's
unfortunate.
Just a well thought out fake. And even then, we've got an extra layer. Look at where Omen is.
I was like, there are just so many different parts of this hit that they've conducted.
Now, granted, this is a 2v2 on site. And neither of the other two players are actually in a good position for this. Opted's gotten onto site for free.
They're giving way too much time for these flankers to speed up now. They've lost the advantage that they're going to have. Now it's a 1v3. There it goes. Draw falls to Ray Undaunted, and they take their 3rd round, putting them in a bit of a better spot for the round swap, for the side swap here. Yeah, that timing, the map control that Michigan got there, just lurking up all these lanes, just waiting and biding their time until they could pull the op towards mid, getting that first pick, and then just having all of that control, having sight, having tree, having heaven. Just a little bit too much to bear.
Yeah. Now, going on to the second side, a lot of pressure is going to be placed on Ray. We've seen how well he's been playing this aggressive duelist. He's got to find a way to make space here.
I'm curious to see how this is going to go on Ray Undaunted's jet comparatively to his Neon, because yeah, we did see on his Neon, it was just full W key if the situation could call for it. Really liking taking that aggression. Looks like they're also going to do this mid push here. They flash through to get into market. Flash doesn't find anybody. Everybody's playing on site. There's 3 people here, one of which being the Killjoy, which the Jet and the Killjoy have a pretty good line here as long as they get the timing on it and don't get cleared out by the people main. Ray's gonna get seen. He's stuck in a bad spot. Manages to get one. Spin gets another. Pit manages to trade him out. Spin gets a third. Opted kills out Spin. Nikolai kills out Opted. Pit kills out Nikolai. All very quick, very rapid hits that we're having. Pit has the sight to get bomb down, and it's all gonna be about this post plan. He's gonna try and
Needs to
maybe
figure out
push
a way
up
to
here to get a
isolate these
pick.
two players. That
What is
knife
that?
is going to be false information.
He gets the main player, but the blind's gonna be to the left. They're gonna know where that TP goes. Oh, what a good micro adjustment from Pit, getting him the fourth, knocking Crisp out and getting them that pistol round. Great shots coming in from Pit there.
Yeah. And again, just slightly out of sync. We've been talking about this all series. The synchronicity of the teams has been what has been making or breaking them. And over the last map and a half or so, it's been Indiana. Indiana has gotten back in sync with each other. We've seen these plays coming out of Opted and Druff and Joy. And now Michigan feels like they're out of sync. Pitt able to perfectly dissect that 1v2 and then get their head taken off.
Unfortunately, a Jet with a scope weapon is not typically a fun thing you have to deal with, and he's gonna jump spot over there from spawn to reveal that there's at least one or two more still sitting bot mid.
Keep in mind, the Jet with the Marshall also does not necessarily indicate that this is a force spy.
No, it does not. Marshall is a pretty cheap gun, all things considered. Do they expect... Well, this drone is going to clear Shadow Goober out here. It's also going to clear Crisp out. You know that two people are pushed up here and that they have guns of some kind. They hear the shotgun blast. They hear the spray of the stinger.
They have to go into this. Spin's already
They
got
do.
a pick on the other side of the map.
Shadow Goober with his back out.
This was missed the timing on the util as well.
Oh, all of these missed timings, all of these... The synchronization just isn't there. Enjoy getting up there and still managing to get his kill. Opted has 3. Spin is in tree with the Bulldog. Health, and they're both 1. This round is still highly winnable as long as he plays it right. One mistake here could cost this round for them, and it almost did, but they played well. They played together. Opted swung off there, got the 4, managing to secure that round. 11-3.
And even in those
And
weird
their buy is healthy.
And even in those weird positions, Opted and Enjoy still playing off of each other very, very well. Those aren't positions that are pre-planned. Like, you can't say, okay, I'm going to be here for the post-plant, and this is how we're going to deal with this. And it's not something that you necessarily drill, but it's just the pure understanding and knowing how to play off of each other that gets them through that round and puts Indiana into a very, very strong position going into the penultimate, or what could be the penultimate round.
Ray's got his dash prime, trying to get another mid here. He does manage to secure it, getting away without taking any chips of damage, taking Enjoy out. It's going to be a Vandal drop mid. But I don't think they're going to be able to really pick up because I think KO already has one, so it's just one valuable gun out of play for the time being. Nikolai pushed up a bit more aggressively than usual here, but he is going to give that space back, not wanting to overpeak when they have the numbers advantage. They're playing patient. Nikolai re-peeking main here. Drone going out. It's gonna spot both that are there. And they try to get that aggressive swing off Nikolai once the second the drone spots them, but they're unable to convert that. Oh! Almost harrowing. Pitt's TP doesn't somehow... The miscommunication there. They knew Nikolai was playing in main, but he still committed that TP in a boathouse. I don't know what happened in their comms there, but that was a bit of a blunder, giving them a free 3v3.
I believe we have entered what is known as squeaky bum time.
We've got Opted has a 3k. Pushing up here, playing aggressive, not wanting to give them any space. Manages to not get the 4th. Druff gets it, but Opted gets traded up by Shadow Goober. It's a TV1. Dark goes out, doesn't spot Shadow Goober. He tucks around the corner long enough, but he doesn't have enough time to be playing there. Gets the 1. He's not dead yet. Could get the 2nd here. He still has time, but we've seen Druff play for time before, and he looks like he's going to do it again. Still playing for time, knowing that the bomb only has so long. And he manages to secure the round, sacrificing his life to do so. Shadow Goober narrowly getting out, too, with a Vandal still.
Yeah. that could have been a lot worse, but ultimately they were able to drag it through. The money's actually still not great for the attackers, despite having just won a round.
No, we did
Draft
see them force up there trying to buy Vandals and get a lot of pressure. So having everybody, not basically, everybody did die. Losing all of your teammates to that, even though you still got the round, is going to put your economy in a weird spot. But I'd be surprised if we didn't maybe see them save here. They've got a lot of rounds to spare. It looks like that the only person that's planning on buying anything is opted because he already just has the
I
money to
wouldn't be
do it.
surprised if Enjoy also decides to force something up as well, especially since you do want that Star Duelist to have a weapon going into a round like this.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see opted. I think it'll be similar to the round either that we just watched or the one before it, where we'll see Enjoy and opted on Vandals and Fulls, and then maybe everybody else on some sort of half buy, just trying to kind of like support them, play more to their util than anything else to secure this last round for them.
Yeah, and we've already got a little bit of an indication on that. We're seeing the Sheriff coming out for one. Druff is planning on getting something with this full armor. No, I guess they are just buying what they can, which makes sense. It ends up being about an equal buy, all things considered.
I guess if you also have a lot of rounds to lose, you might as well try and force up, finish it out here, and then maybe save a round and then go for the win again if anything goes wrong. And they are playing hyper aggressive here. Enjoy just storming onto the bomb site. Very different from the pacing that we've been seeing previously. TP on a Jenny, they're already up in heaven. Bomb is already going down. Starkly different pacing than we've been playing with. Now it's going to be a 5v5 in this post-plant retake situation that Michigan's going to have to work through here.
Post-plant positions are a little bit out of order for the side of Indiana. It's not
Doesn't
going to get
avoid
punished.
that line. They're just running them down. They're just holding W, but Shadow Goober gets 2, bringing it to a 3v2, bringing it to a 3v1, and there it goes. Indiana takes map 3, giving them not only the map, but also the series, knocking Michigan back down to our lower bracket and sending Indiana
Not even a
off to
lower
take down
bracket, just to
Michigan
our third
State.
place match.
True, yeah, no, you can't get back out. This is just who gets third.
Yeah.
What a great set of games.
For real, Indiana showed such good resilience by finding a way to bounce back into that map 2, which I believe wasn't even their map pick, and managing to take Sunset away from Michigan before finally showing what they're capable of. This is the same team that was able to win the regular season last season and take second at that LAN. This is their ceiling. This is what we all knew that they were capable of, and they finally got a chance to show it. 13-3, just utter domination on all fronts. Granted, it's a little bit helped by the fact that they started on the attack side, or on the defense side, which Ascent typically favors, but even still, with how their attack was playing, the level of confidence that they were exerting, and just how well that they were playing together, I don't think the result would have been that different had they had to start on the attack side.
No, we really saw it was a little bit of a rough start for them at first, but we saw the synchronization ramp up, especially in that second game, especially in that third game. The 13-3 shutout was brutal for them. They really kind of showed what they can do once they start warming up, once they start playing together, and maybe even just once they start getting on roles that they might be better suited for. They really played well off that double initiator, having all of that extra util to try and shut people down, shut down hyper aggression, flash people out, reveal their locations, and then all you need is Enjoy just fragging out of their minds off of that helpful info. And even on the defensive side, not having an ego, but not having too much of an ego, using dashes sometimes to get info for other people who are in a more favorable spot to get the kill rather than throwing your own life away. It was a lot of good team play that we saw that game, but is it going to be enough for them to take down Michigan State?
And taking a look at the stats, it's just very, very well-rounded Valorant. Honestly, out of both teams, obviously Michigan had a little bit of a stinker in that map 3, but during that map 1, they were on point. And during all 3 maps, it seemed like the teams had a lot of the right ideas. It was just the execution leaned more in favor of Indiana a little bit more often than it did for Michigan. And that's why
Yeah.
Indiana is going to be advancing to our East Side Grand Finals.
I think if we saw them play how they played on that map 3, just with pure pure perfect coordination, always having somebody for your trade, always playing off of other people's util, even if it's your Jets, having those kinds of frags, having those kinds of plays are what really I think allowed them to have an undisputed shutdown in that third map and could really give them an edge against our first seed Michigan State, because they're not going to be an easy team for them to beat.
Yeah, and I believe Michigan State is the only, or one of two other teams to have, or one of two teams to have beaten Indiana, with the other one not being in the bracket at all, Maryland, in a surprise upset. But Michigan State's one where they have the tape, they have the ideas on what they did wrong, they'll have this to watch back on, and they'll have time to go in, figure out what they can be doing differently, and figure out how to mold that and shape that into getting a result similar to what we just saw. I think it's very doable. Michigan State's a formidable team, but if Indiana is firing on all cylinders like they did in that map 3, who knows what their ceiling actually is.
I think Michigan State's definitely a snowballer. So I think if we give them a map 1 like we gave to U of M, just having a lot of that out of touch, a lot of the not exactly their util, that could be damaging for us. But if we go into it knowing exactly what we need to do, we go into it knowing exactly what works, and we go into it knowing exactly who we need to be on, then we do stand a very good chance at knocking down a formidable opponent there. But we won't be able to get to see that till next week. Those will be when both of our championship matches are, both to see who gets first and second and who will get placed third and fourth. Due to finals coming up and being next week for, I think, all of us here in the BEC, we're not totally sure if the dates and times of those matches will be consistent with what they have been.
Yeah, obviously education first. This is a collegiate league after all, but at some point next week, you'll have a couple of very, very fun games to look forward to. Even the third place match should be exciting. Rutgers, at times, were giving MSU a run for their money today, and I'm very curious to see how they'll fare against a team like Michigan.
I've seen Rutgers' potential. I watched them knock the Buckeyes out of the LCQs, so I'm hoping that they give Michigan a bit of a run for their money. I think it'll be a fun match to watch, but until then, I've had a fantastic time casting with you and casting for all of you. My name is Mars. If you want to find me on Twitter, because I won't call it X, my tag is Marzard Live. It's like Charizard with Mar in the front.
And then I've been Anima. If you want, I'm on Blue Sky at AnimaCasts. I believe I'm also at Twitter at Anima_casts. But yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you, Mars. And again, shout outs to our observer. I don't know what he wants me to call him, but yeah, good job, Michael. We
Good job, Michael.
Dude's got like 3 different tags that he cycles between.
Michael is varied, but we hope that all of you watching have a great rest of your night and that our players take some good rest before their games next week.
Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.
I'm not afraid of the ghost unless they go hard. Don't be afraid of the dark to put you off guard. I'm just a silhouette, oh, I'm just a lost cause. Don't listen to all of the voices if you hear them. They'll call you crazy, but I'll call you sharp and brilliant. Don't